The legendary Hollywood director. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Cage's Vision. Subscription recommendation. In the third week of its release, Bad Guys continued to top the North American weekly box office with a daily output of $14.23 million. This is the third time it has been at the top of the list. It can only be said that there are really no strong competitors in this period, which is very suitable for the film. After entering June, the recently released movies such as The Caverns and Infinity are standard bad movies. However, next week, there will be no such good luck, because a new film released by Walt Disney, the computer animated film Finding Nemo, will be released. This is a big IP that makes a lot of money in the future, and each one makes Disney a lot of money. Speaking of which, the producer Pixar Animation Studios is really amazing. It can be said that it has promoted the production of computer 3D animation with its own strength. Not only did it design professional software, but it also programmed an extremely complete special effects system. And now their largest shareholder behind the scenes, I believe everyone is familiar with it, that is, Steve Jobs, the current CEO of Apple. As early as 1986, he, with his keen sense of smell, bought the computer animation department of Industrial Light and Magic, the predecessor of Pixar, for $10 million. In 1995, Disney released the world's first fully computer-produced animated feature film Toy Story, which eventually broke the record of the American animation film industry with a box office of $192 million. It earned $360 million worldwide. As for Toy Story 2, A Bug's Life, and Monsters Incorporated, none of these animated films that have been released one after another have lost money, and they always break their own box office history. However, since its release, Bad Guys has already earned a box office of $276 million. The screening in North America will slowly decline over time. This is a fairly normal release cycle. After all, not every movie is Titanic, and the more it is screened, the more popular it is. According to this development momentum, as the number of theaters gradually decreases, Paramount estimates that, when the movie is fully offline in North America, it should be able to exceed $300 million. Overseas distribution is pure profit without loss. The box office may not be as hot as in North America, but with so many ticket warehouses added up, it won't be much worse. In Los Angeles, in Nicolas Cage's mansion, Lyman is discussing something with him. By the way, Bad Guys has a good box office revenue. Although it has not been released yet, there is naturally no question of sharing the box office. But with the estimated figures, Lyman also has the idea of buying a house. Buying a house in the United States as a base for development. So, he found Cage. The real estate industry in the United States is also very complicated. Instead of going to an agency to choose a house, when you are unfamiliar with the place, it is better to find someone close to you who is very experienced in this area. Coincidentally, Cage was on his way back to Los Angeles after the promotion. After hearing that he had this idea, he also took the initiative to ask for help. "Why do you think of buying a house at this time?" In the living room, Cage asked after asking the butler to help pour 2 cups of coffee. "Now that I have money, I can buy a house here and feel more at ease." This is not a joke. Lyman is actually quite insecure. He has saved a lot of money from making movies in the past 2 years, but he has never been willing to spend it. After all, in his opinion, buying a house is either not a good idea or a good one that is comfortable for him to live in. But foreign countries are different from China. It is not like buying a house, and it is a one-time thing. The subsequent annual maintenance fees and value-added tax are a big burden. Let's put it this way, the money spent may be less at the beginning, but paying money to the tax bureau year after year is equivalent to raising a father for no reason, and the kind that does not produce anything. In addition, the real estate in the United States has strict laws and regulations on inheritance, which means that real estate speculation is a relatively difficult thing. What if he loses money making a movie? He must keep some money to prevent such things from happening. So, it was not until now that he dared to think about it. You came to me. I have 13 high-end properties now, and I can't live in so many. I'll take you to see the houses tomorrow. I'll give you a discount for whichever one you choose. Nicolas Cage said. So many. Why did you buy so many houses? Investment. Nicolas Cage said proudly. I've spent most of the money I made from making movies over the past decade on this. After saying that, he wanted to give Lemon a heads up. You said you have a lot of money, right? I tell you, the high-end properties in the United States have appreciated a lot in recent years. While the market is good, you should also buy a few houses. You can make money by renting or selling them. Who came up with this idea? Lemon said with a strange look on his face. Isn't it stupid to put money in the bank to earn interest? I have money now, and I have also found a relevant financial manager to help me manage it. According to his idea, I should buy high quality stocks, but I think that is unreliable. After thinking about it, it is better to buy a house, which is more practical. Don't you think it is not cost effective? I have to pay taxes every year. It is a bit troublesome, but I tell you, I just sold the house of Marbury 2 years ago, and I made more than 20 million in 3 years compared to when I bought it. Compared with this money, the tax is nothing. What do you think? Do you want to invest too? Nicolas Cage is still promoting his business experience. In his opinion, Lemon is a person worth making friends with. Forget it, one house is enough for me to live in. Now I finally know why Cage has become the king of bad movies in the future. It is said that he failed an investment and owed a lot of debts. In order to make more money, he dared to take any movie without any restrictions. But how can this investment not fail? Hoarding houses in the United States. Damn, when the financial crisis comes, I guess I don't think I'm dying fast enough. By then, the real estate industry will be in a Great Depression. If you want to sell them, you can't sell them, and you have to pay various taxes every year. And he doesn't support just one father, but more than a dozen fathers. How can he not squander them all? I advise you not to buy a house. You are an actor, why don't you try to invest in movies? Lemon said kindly. Movies? Cage shook his head. This is even more unreliable. Who knows whether a movie will make a profit or a loss? Real estate is different. Now the price changes every year, but it's a business that makes money. Well, it's true. He is not a person from the future, so how can he know that a financial crisis will break out? If there hadn't been that disaster, Cage would have lived a pretty good life. Thinking of this, Lemon didn't persuade him. Originally, he thought about not taking advantage of him and buying his real estate, but now it seems that he is helping him. Poor Cage. Chapter 177 Chapter 178 House Viewing Subscription Recommendation. Although the box office of Bad Guys was really good, Lemon's desire to buy a house came to him, and he couldn't hold it back. This kind of logical relationship seems absurd, but it is surprisingly smooth in Lemon's mind. On June 7th, the day after meeting Cage, the group also set out to see the house. In addition to the two of them, there were Thomas and Ryan. Although this purchase was not in the name of the studio, but Lemon's personal property. After all, it is still the same saying, public is public, private is private, and it is best not to mix them together. On the road, Cage drove the car, and the destination was Beverly Hills. In terms of the scope of Los Angeles, high-end real estate is basically there. Moreover, buying a house here is also conducive to the development of Lemon's social circle. CAA's Kevin Hahn, Tom Cruise, and even several senior executives of Paramount Pictures have their own properties there. It can be said that most of the powerful people in Hollywood have formed a settlement concentrated here. How about it? The location is good enough. After arriving, Cage also led everyone to visit the several houses he bought. Here, in addition to the property where he often lives, there are 3 remaining houses, all of which he is willing to sell. Very nice. The front yard is quite large. Ryan walked back and forth a few steps and said with some emotion, "Let's take a look." It was Lemon who spoke. This property is good, but the decoration style is too fancy, magnificent, and those who don't know would think it is a palace. After spending some time to look at the 3 houses one after another, Lemon finally made a choice. In fact, the most expensive and best properties in Beverly Hills are all in the hills. It is a very common operation for a luxury house to occupy a small hilltop. What Lemon chose now is a similar situation. This house full of modern, bright and simple style is located at the top of a large gentle slope. The single-story usable area is 200 square meters, with a total of 2 floors. There is also a large tennis court in the large back garden. In addition to this, it also has a swimming pool and barbecue area. There are 5 bedrooms indoors. The master bedroom and guest bedroom also have cloakrooms, but the master bedroom has a separate gym. As for the jacuzzi, private bathroom, and home theater, they are all needless to say. The basement is also very spacious, and Cage has also decorated a wine cellar. In addition, there is a large garage on the right side of the front yard of the house, and there is a small attic next to the garage. According to Cage, it is for the servants to sleep. The total area of such a property is about 800 square meters. Even in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, it is considered a high-end mansion. Compared with it, Kevin's house that I visited last time is nothing. Not only is it half the area of this place, but the location is far from good. However, many people still can't afford it. Of course, compared with the rookie Cage and those more extravagant people, this place is nothing. Hollywood is never short of people who enjoy life. For example, Michael Jackson once built a dreamy luxury estate called Neverland. It was a property converted from a ranch, covering more than 1,000 hectares, with a private amusement park, a zoo, an artificial lake, and a professional sports field. He spent more than $10 million just to buy the land, which was more than $10 million in the 80s. This is what it means to be rich and powerful. Although Michael Jackson once fell into poverty in his later years and had to sell Neverland and rent a house outside, at least he was once prosperous. The same is true for Cage. According to this guy himself, he bought an island in Marbury 5 years ago and is still building it. He has invested more than $50 million, not including the subsequent decoration costs. There is always someone better than you. Anyway, Lemon felt that this property was in line with his heart. Within his acceptable range, he chose the most expensive and best one, which was his concept of buying a house. How much is this one? Lemon asked the young man Cage next to him. 20 million will do. He looked very proud. For him, it was good to get a handling fee, and there was no need to earn the little appreciation from Lemon. Did he need that little money? On the contrary, he would be willing to give it away for free. But seeing Lemon's attitude, he probably wouldn't agree, so he didn't mention it. As for the purchase contract, I'll pay according to the market price, so you don't have to spend money. Of course Lemon didn't agree. People give a friendly price, that's their moral principle. And he is not completely ignorant of the price of high-end real estate in the United States. He has also found channels to understand it. Although they have a good relationship and can get to know each other in addition to cooperation, if you count it this way, you still owe a favor. Just a house like this is estimated to be no less than 30 million. Now it's so much cheaper. How can it work? Even if you want to owe a favor, you should owe less. Brothers should be clear about accounts. Okay, I'll find someone to transfer the procedures in a few days. Seeing Lemon's serious attitude, Cage didn't think about it anymore. Let's do business as usual. By the way, do you want to change the decoration of this house? If you have any needs, I can introduce you to a company. They decorated my house and can give you some discounts. Lemon could accept this. Although he was very satisfied with the environment, lighting, ventilation, and overall layout of this property, but he still had some small requirements for the inside, or more precisely, the bedroom. The bed must be big enough and soft so that I can sleep comfortably. There should be space to stretch out when rolling in bed with Eva, right? In this regard, Cage was a little inconsiderate. The bed was obviously not big enough, and a large space was left unused. Change it, it must be changed. If this is done well, he doesn't care about anything else. Anyway, he feels pretty good staying in a hotel here every day. Lemon is not very picky. He has never adapted to the living standard that a rich person should have. Although he has no idea what the living standard of a rich person should be, the space in his property in France is very small compared to here. But he feels at ease living there, and he doesn't plan to change. After the visit, we met with the person in charge of the decoration company. After we put forward our request, time passed very quickly. We came in at 9 AM, and when we were almost done, it was already past 2 PM. After a long time of hard work, we had lunch together. Cage wanted to invite Lemon and his group to his place, but Lemon refused. Someone has asked me to meet. Let's do it next time. Have fun. Ryan and Thomas were free anyway, so they naturally wanted to have some fun. The three of them were single. Cage was divorced during Fury. Once Cage hinted, the two understood immediately. But Lemon couldn't do it. He was really busy. Chapter 178 James Wan's movie plan. Please subscribe and recommend. It was James Wan who made the appointment with Lemon. He called him the afternoon before yesterday and asked if he was free, where he was, and that he had something to ask him. After confirming the schedule, they made the appointment today. They had originally agreed to meet at a coffee shop, but Lemon was too lazy to do it, so they changed it to a hotel. Not long after he got back in Cage's car, the door rang. Looking through the peephole, it was James Wan, whom he hadn't seen for a while. He stood outside the door awkwardly and even brought a gift, some local specialties brought from Australia, saying that they couldn't be bought here. It was really strange. After all, they had worked together for a while, but it wasn't him. Why did he feel like he was an outsider? Of course, this was what Lemon thought in his heart, but James Wan didn't. He felt that if you ask someone to do something for you, you have to have this attitude. In the past, he always felt that he was lucky enough. He moved to Australia with his family at the age of 7, which greatly broadened his horizons, and later he successfully studied in a good university. During this period, he met his good friend Ray Warnell, and the two hit it off immediately and had the same filming concept. As soon as he graduated from university, he joined an unofficial film group Blake Pike. They were all like-minded people who loved horror element. They made short films and exchanged experiences. The days passed slowly like this, but after all, he studied film majors, so how could he not have the idea of directing a work of his own? He also tried it. But here, maybe his luck in life was too much, and he ran into obstacles everywhere. He thought that the film environment in Australia was not good and there were not many opportunities. He was quite hardworking and followed his friends to the United States. But he still couldn't do anything. Although there were many opportunities, they were all given to others. Not to mention being a director, he couldn't even be an assistant. And all this, after going around in circles, seemed to have returned to the past. His luck came again, and he met Lemon. Then Bad Guys was a box office success, and some of the film companies that had previously disdained him were willing to give him a chance. But after all, he was not a real director, and the man was a little hesitant, and the conditions he offered him were not high, and even very harsh. Of course, he didn't think the treatment was so-so, but the rights to shoot on the set were too little, or in other words, the creative freedom was not high. Not only did he not have any post-production rights, he didn't even have the right to edit. This made him a little distressed. Logically, as a newcomer, he should seize this opportunity, regardless of the conditions. But maybe he wanted to struggle a bit. After all, it was his idea, and it was a script he and his friends co-wrote, so he thought of Lemon, the person who took good care of him on the set. No, his mentor. What are you busy with recently? If you have time, my next movie will also enter the preparation stage. When the time comes, can you come over to help earlier? Lemon was quite casual and asked him to sit down and said. But after saying this, James Wan was a little fidgety. Is the time inconvenient? Lemon saw his embarrassment and said again. James Wan didn't think about how to start the conversation. He reached into his bag and pulled out a script. Here, I have a script here that Lionsgate has chosen. I want to hear your opinion. Script? Okay, let me take a look. Lemon was a little speechless. On second thought, yes, even non-professionals want to be directors, not to mention that he, a professional, doesn't want to be a deputy. Lemon can understand that. He took it and started to browse. Unlike his style of carefully sorting out every scene word by word, this script was written quite roughly, with very few character dialogues, but there were quite a few shot notes next to it. The story was roughly the same as the finished film in later generations, and all kinds of torturous props were also written in full. If you don't know, you might think James Wan is a pervert. Well, He is quite perverted, a psychopath. Lemon put down the script and looked at James Wan sitting opposite him. He put his hands on his knees, noticed the look Lemon gave him, and responded with a smile. What about your own ideas? The script doesn't really mean anything, but the idea is good. Nowadays, powerful and prestigious directors don't need this stuff anymore. It's all about the situation. If James Cameron has the idea of making a movie, people willing to invest money must be lining up. As long as it's not too outrageous, the chances of the project being approved are too high. When James Wan heard this, he glanced at Lemon, but he couldn't tell anything from his face. He made up his mind, and didn't plan to hide it. That's right, I want to be the director of this work, but I'm not very satisfied with the investment conditions of Lionsgate, so I want to ask if you are willing to take over. What's the situation? What did Lionsgate say? Some time ago, didn't I come to you to apply for the position of assistant director? In fact, before that, I had submitted scripts to many film companies. Later, Lionsgate had some ideas, but now it's been a stalemate and we haven't reached an agreement yet. After listening to what James Wan said, Lemon also roughly understood the whole thing. As I said, he wanted more creative freedom, and didn't want to be too constrained. This made Lemon interested. He also knew about James Wan's ability. Lionsgate was hesitant and a little skeptical, but he was different. Perhaps because they were both directors, he was also happy to give people space to display their talents. Just like Luc Besson did to him. After thinking about his own conditions, Lemon also made up his mind. After pushing the script back to James Wan, he said, "Okay, if you are interested, I will help you find a way." "Really? Thank you, Lemon." James Wan's joy was beyond words, and he was even a little bit unbelievable. It was so simple, it worked. Looking at him, Lemon thought of himself when he was filming Buried. He probably felt the same way after getting the opportunity. Worried about gains and losses, but full of energy. "Well, but your ending is a bit rough. You should leave an open ending to give the audience more suspense." This is pure nonsense. It's just that Lemon thought the ending was different from the original. It was probably a foreshadowing that Lionsgate deliberately left when editing. After all, the most popular shooting trend in Hollywood now is to make sequels. No matter whether it is a good movie or a bad movie, it's always right to leave one. What if the box office performance of the movie is good? Then you can make money from fans in a fair and open manner. This kind of good idea should of course be used. After the two discussed it for a while, the name of the project was confirmed, and it was still called Saw. Chapter 179. We are all smart people. Which one is more likely to win the audience's favor? A family-friendly movie suitable for all ages, or a movie with a strong authorial style that targets the adult market? The answer to this question seems obvious. Since this Friday, Finding Nemo has shown its unparalleled dominance. On the first day of its release alone, it easily won $35.53 million. As always, it presents the strong money-making ability of Pixar Animation Studios. On the other hand, Bad Guys by Lemon and Europa Films has no resistance to the impact of another strong rival in the summer vacation. The daily output has further shrunk to less than $10 million. After consuming a large number of potential fans and audiences, this situation is very normal. Although the audience's reputation is still very good, Bad Guys has a very obvious congenital defect compared to Finding Nemo. That is the audience group of the film. After the first weekend, Finding Nemo directly topped the weekly box office chart with a score of $82.58 million in 3 days, which also ended the position of Bad Guys on the list. Under its strong impact, the box office performance of Bad Guys in the second weekend is still tepid, neither a sharp decline nor a counter-trend growth. However, what makes everyone feel relieved is that at least it has stabilized. On Saturday, Finding Nemo also began to consume a large number of early audiences, and the box office fell slightly compared with the previous weekend, closing at $23.5 million that day. Of course, Bad Guys is not much better, and the single-day box office continues to decline, earning $7.85 million from 2,200 theaters. If there is no miracle with such a box office situation, it will be countless times more difficult for Bad Guys to break the 400 million mark in North America. but the current performance of $365.75 million can be regarded as exceeding the expected goal shared by Europa Films and Paramount Pictures, breaking $300 million in North America. With the arrival of a new week, the box office results of last weekend have been successfully counted. Finding Nemo firmly sits at the top of the box office chart with $78.45 million, while Bad Guys, which has been released for a month, ranks second for the second time with a box office of $26.87 million. This result continues to fall steadily by 35% compared with last week. Under such circumstances, the number of theaters showing the film was inevitably cut down a lot, plummeting to 1,800. Just like a chain reaction, the worse the box office is, the less attention the theaters pay, and then it continues to be worse, and continues to reduce, until it is finally taken off the screen. And now it is the summer vacation after all. The box office market is quite hot, and more films will join the competition in the future. The number of theaters showing, and the number of screenings will only be further compressed to make room for others. Even if Paramount Pictures does more work, it cannot change this inevitable law. Apart from other things, only interests are the eternal truth. As for Europa Films, which is responsible for overseas distribution, it has long been pushed into the market and started to harvest box office in major ticket warehouses. The first week box office in the UK was $3.87 million. France, after all, is Lemon's home base, and the fans' response was also very strong, earning $12.58 million directly. In terms of market capacity, it may be more powerful than the United States, but generally speaking, the screening performance in so many overseas markets is still good. Paris, France, Europa Films headquarters. I received invitations from several film companies today. You are now constantly offered film contracts. Luc Besson threw a cigar to Lemon and casually put a stack of documents in front of him, teasing, "You are now attracting much attention in the industry, and even France is not at peace. This invitation is no worse than Hollywood." Lemon ignored it. Europa Films had long known about his idea of starting a new movie, and also knew that he had no time to take on a role. What's more, when Three Idiots had a good box office, many people kept coming and going like sharks smelling blood. How could he escape this time? No one gets up early without profit. Everyone is the same. Directors like him who have already achieved success will naturally have people thinking about him. They will bow down to those who are superior and step on those who are inferior. Is it realistic? Hollywood has always been the most realistic. I came here today for another matter. Lemon said. What is it for? Of course, it is James Wan's film project Saw. Some people may wonder why Lemon, who has money, connections, and knows many senior executives of distribution companies, still came to discuss with Luc Besson. Young people, who doesn't want to make independent productions? Who doesn't want to do a business that is sure to make money? But, is it possible? The deep water of the film industry has drowned countless ambitious people. Is there no risk in doing business? The same is true for investment. He is not stupid enough to shoot on his own. Financing and borrowing chickens to lay eggs are the norm in this circle. People who eat alone never have a good end. Why? Lemon has made so many movies, which are box office hits, and countless people have eaten meat and drank soup. He has never taken the lion's share. The real beneficiaries are always the distribution companies, Europa Films and Paramount Pictures. If these movies don't share these profits, they will promote them so vigorously and sell well at the box office so easily. Don't even think about it. Everything is possible in dreams, okay? In this circle, compromise is often needed, not toughness. Of all the resources in the film industry, Lemon only has the word works. What about channels? Who should he find? Those equally ambitious Hollywood manufacturers? It would be better to continue to cooperate with Europa Films. At least Luc Besson is a smart man. He also knows how to be careful. You want to sign the distribution rights of this movie to Europa Films? That James Wan, I remember he was the assistant director of your last movie. Well, he came to me a few days ago, and I talked to him, and I wanted to help him on this project. Lemon thought for a while and continued, the specific situation. Wait until his shooting plan is made, and then we will talk in detail. Don't worry, since you have this idea, I will definitely support it. Luc Besson also agreed. For him, it is very good to maintain a good relationship with Lyman and strengthen the cooperation between the two sides. That's it, I'm tired, I'm going home to rest first. Lyman took the initiative to say goodbye after he finished talking about his plan to come back to France. Goodbye, I'll find someone to take you home. Luc Besson smiled. Well, just take me home. Lyman would naturally not refuse the goodwill released by Europa Films to him. Chapter 180 Producer. At 3 p.m., Provence International Airport. It only takes about 2 hours to fly here from Paris. When Lyman left the airport, the sun was shining brightly outside. After more than a month, he felt fulfilled, and a little tired, and a little strange. He really didn't expect that, after going around in circles, by chance, Saw would give him the opportunity to get involved. I think after the release of this movie, Paramount Pictures and Europa Films will have another big surprise. This is a project that can be serialized. If you shoot 5, 6, 7, or 8 films, the profit margin should not be too large, and offline operations are more likely to form a virtuous circle. This is why series movies can become a hot trend in Hollywood. For them, a mature and stable development trend is much better than always gambling on the market's acceptance. Lyman could only sigh. Time and fate. Sir, I'm the head of Europa Films Cannes office. My name is Sweet Wyman. The staff member who Luc Besson had greeted in advance drove to pick him up as usual. As soon as he saw Lyman coming out of the airport passage, he came up to him. Thank you, you've worked hard, he said politely, then got into a black Lincoln, turned 2 corners, and drove in the direction of home. Today is June 24th, and in a few days, it will be July again. Thinking about it for a while, I feel that I have been busying myself for the past 2 years, but I really haven't made any achievements. But considering the actual situation, it seems to be pretty good. I have made several movies, and the box office is pretty good. I can make money, and buy a big house. I will renovate it, and move in soon. It's great that I have made something out of all the messing around. After all, he has no plan for the development of his career. What else can he ask for? If he can make movies happily, he will take his place wherever he goes. Anyway, he was owed by God in his last life, and this life is compensation. It's not bad, and more importantly, Lyman. Just after getting off the car and less than a few steps away from the door of his house, he heard someone shouting next to him. He looked up and saw Eva Green standing in the side road next to the house. She was waving her hands vigorously. He had her. Aren't you hot? Lyman pulled the suitcase over and couldn't help but blame him. The silly girl was wearing a beige long skirt and a jacket on the outside. Even if she hid in the shade, her forehead was covered with sweat. It's so hot, and you don't pay attention. I just got back from the plane. I forgot about the situation here. She stuck out her tongue and said, why did you come back suddenly? Didn't you call me the day before yesterday and say that things were not clear? It was a temporary decision. I have to go there again in a few days. Aren't you tired of tossing back and forth? Eva Green's words were a little lonely. After learning that he was coming back, she didn't even continue to promote it, just to stay together for a while, but she didn't expect it to be so busy. How about you accompany me? It happens that I'm also very tired running around alone. If you can come, you can share the burden. I'm just afraid that you will feel tired too, Lyman said half jokingly and half seriously. He will be really busy during this period. The new project may be delayed for a while. After all, the actors and shooting arrangements have not been made, but Saw can't wait. James Wan probably got the opportunity to direct independently, so he is full of energy. When he knew that Lyman would go to Europa Films to discuss with Luc Besson, he immediately finished a new script, added the suspenseful reversal ending at the end, and slightly improved the lines and dialogues between several characters. And when Lyman said that he still needed a specific shooting plan, he patted his chest on the phone without saying a word, and said that he would not let him wait too long. It will be done in 3 days at most, this is what he said. Once he put down the phone, he could split into 2 people and do the work of 2 people. After throwing away other trivial matters at hand, he hurriedly started to devote himself to this work. He said 3 days. 3 days. He was serious. Even if you add the review and early preparations, within 2 weeks, according to this momentum, it will definitely enter the shooting stage. Moreover, Saw is a blood thriller movie, so the most suitable release date for it this year is around Halloween. Lyman actually had the same idea. It would be good to get the crew of Saw on the right track first. After all, time is quite tight now. The shooting, post-production, and publicity time are generally more than 4 months, and they can't be delayed any longer. What's more, Lyman will not only be responsible for investment, but also the producer of this project. Originally, I wanted to find someone else, such as George or other professionals from Europa Films. But James Wan really knows how to be flexible and strive for opportunities. I hinted about this aspect as early as on the phone. In fact, Lyman could guess the purpose of his doing this. It's nothing more than using his big banner to give him, as a director, more rights to participate in the shooting and post-production on the set, and to increase a guarantee. As for why he is flexible, James Wan certainly knows how important a producer is to a crew, and Lyman certainly doesn't have time to worry about this, so he is just a figurehead. In fact, a special person will be found to be in charge of this, but a name he is not called a producer, but a production manager. The difference between these two words is reflected in the power and confidence in the crew, which is completely different. How can you say that he has an idea? Lyman thought about it and agreed. He can indeed give support in this regard, and he doesn't think that James Wan is excessive or too demanding. He fought for his rights and interests, so why can't he be better? Besides, he didn't suffer any loss. Helping to build a crew can get a greater return, and he really thinks he can do more. For example, the studio has so much idle funds, but it has never used them for investment. It depends on Lyman alone, and it can't grow quickly. So he also thought of cultivating James Wan well. Once this person can mobilize more resources in society, he will naturally come up with some plans to use them. Some people attribute this kind of planning to a concept called ambition, but Lyman wants to talk about confidence. The kind of confidence that even if it fails, it's no big deal. Of course. Eva Green smiled and asked, "How many days can you stay here?" 2 or 3 days. Once the project plan is ready and submitted to Europa Films for review, we will go through the process and go directly to Los Angeles, and the filming will be completed there. Chapter 181 Investment Share. Haha, so, James Wan is going to be a director too? Or are you the investor? That night, after dinner, the two sat on the bed, and Lyman told her about what happened recently. Eva Green was quite happy. Although it seemed a bit sudden for him to be promoted to this inexplicable new identity, she thought it was a good thing after all. The joy on her face that she couldn't hide also showed her attitude. How can there be so many? I'm just a figurehead. If I really want to be a producer, I'll be at a loss. It's okay for the internal affairs, but I'm sure I can't deal with those third-party regulatory agencies like Allianz Insurance. Maybe there will be a quarrel. Ha ha ha. Eva Green seemed to be very excited and overjoyed when she thought of such a funny thing. In fact, it is true. Directors hate it most when someone points fingers at their work, but the industry rules are there. If the third-party regulatory agency is not satisfied, it will be difficult to deal with this matter. James Cameron is irritable and has a bad temper, but he has to endure it. Stop talking about this, let's do something serious. Seeing Eva Green laughing, her slender figure was exposed even with clothes on. Lyman suddenly thought of an old saying, "A spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Flowers have fragrance and the moon her shadow. Don't let it go to waste. It will be punished by God." What serious things? Seeing Lyman suddenly become serious, Eva thought something was wrong. It's been so long since we last met. Don't you want to? Lyman whispered the last 2 words in her ear. As soon as she finished speaking, Eva Green's face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. Of course, it wasn't because she was suddenly shy, but when Lyman said it, he gently bit her earlobe. She was very sensitive there. Don't think wrongly. Europa Films headquarters. Luc Besson was smoking a cigar, and after carefully reading the document in his hand, he smiled and said, "I saw that the shooting plan written here mentioned that Saw will be a series of film projects. Director Lyman, can you tell us a little more about it?" "Of course." Lemon nodded, put down the coffee in his hand, and explained, the main audience group of this movie is those audiences who love bloody cult movies, and the film settings here just happen to scratch their itch. In addition, there are many large-scale shots, which can also bring them visual stimulation and increase their enthusiasm for watching movies. As long as the first part performs well, the subsequent development will continue to change the soup, but not the medicine, and the audience acceptance will be good. Oh. Luc Besson blew out a smoke ring and savored it carefully, feeling quite fresh. Isn't it the same for Mission Impossible and 007? They add whatever the audience likes to watch. Tom Cruise flies and hides in the air at 36 degrees without any blind spots to act cool and handsome, and there are always beautiful female stars to join the Bond girls. The continuity of this kind of film is the essence of film serialization. Can you imagine Mission Impossible changing the protagonist? Even Leo can't do it. Preconceived ideas and stability factors are the kingly way, right? It seems that you are very knowledgeable about this. Luc Besson smiled. What's the point of not studying? Isn't your transporter also done in the same way? You understand it. Lemon said unhappily. Okay, no more jokes. We at Europa Films are very interested in this project, so it's right to be interested, Lemon thought. The initial budget for this film is about 8 million to 10 million, leaving a lot of room for the actors' salaries. As for other expenses, they are very normal and reasonable. What do you think? Well, of course I believe you. Are you the producer of this film? So, James Wan really has a good sense of the industry. Even though he is still a new director and has no information or achievements to show, Luc Besson is willing to invest just for his face. Maybe he feels that Lemon will back up this project. Lemon and Luc Besson looked at each other and smiled slightly. Isn't that what I've been waiting for you to say? Since we want to shoot and invest, how can we do it without the support of a distribution company? And Europa Films is the most critical link in this. With the big pie, why worry about them not working hard, providing resources and channels? Such a series of movies will be a good development opportunity for Lemon himself and Man Studio. As long as the core attraction of Saw can be preserved as in the previous life, the studio will also have a facade pillar, a pillar that is quite stable in series. Yes, that's right. Lemon intends to bring James Wan into Man Studios. Of course, it's not the French one. He intends to set up a film company in the United States. It's not a grassroots team affiliated with Europa Films, but a real film studio with production capabilities. And this time, the three companies will invest together as usual. After all, the American market is impossible to abandon. In any case, for the distribution, without the help of local snakes like Paramount Pictures, it is impossible to enter the market. Even if it enters, there will be no scheduling or theaters. As for why not find other people to cooperate, or just go directly to Paramount Pictures and put Europa aside? Maybe there will be such doubts, but this idea is not advisable at all. But if both parties did not need him, he would not be so easy to negotiate conditions. Not to mention that Europa Films is really sensible, and he is a French director. Look at the division of the income of this movie. Europa Films invested 2 million and took 30% of the box office profit. Paramount Pictures invested 3 million and took 35%. Man Studios invested 4 million and took the remaining 35%. Europa Films owns 50% of the film copyright. Man Studios does the same. Paramount Pictures does not take a single cent, but they own 40% of the film's offline revenue within 3 years. Man Studios does the same, and after 3 years, all the revenue has nothing to do with him. In other words, the long-term big head is in Europa's hands, and Paramount has a greater advantage in short-term profits. Man Studios has invested the most money, but has no outstanding performance in these two aspects. But who told him that he has no industry resources for cash realization? You can't make a movie and not release it. He should pay these money and he should also bear these losses. In fact, it's fair to think about it, and compared with the previous conditions, the conditions are more favorable, which is a good thing. Besides, if Saw didn't have the strong support of the two companies, it might have failed at the box office, and wouldn't all the plans look like a joke? That's all. Chapter 182 Trash. In the simply decorated office, filled with smoke, It was like a paradise on earth. President, Matt Cohen, then the head of Europa Films marketing department, put down his cigar, dozed off, shook off the ash, and said with a hint of meaning and casualness, "Mr. Luc Besson, I heard that the company has a new project again. Director Lyman has been doing a lot recently. Not only does he have plans to make films himself, but he can also make some investments. He is really capable." Luc Besson, who was sitting opposite him, heard this and naturally understood that there was something behind his words. Let's talk about his identity first. Putting aside the position of head of the marketing department, Matt Cohen has several shareholders standing behind him. After all, running such a big film company, of course you have to convince the public. How can one person have the final say? He is so powerful, of course he has the ability, I know this in my heart. Luc Besson paused, as if giving the man opposite him some room to think, holding the cigar in his mouth, and slowly taking a puff with great enjoyment, and then said, "I've said before that, since the company has chosen to launch the project, it naturally has its own plans. What's the matter? Do you think Lyman is not good enough? Or is there something wrong with the company's decision?" No. Matt Cohen immediately shook his head and denied, "In the past 2 years, everyone has seen Director Lyman's achievements. How can I not believe him? Besides, the company agrees with these things, so of course I have no objection." "No objection? Oh, you're kidding." Luc Besson saw through it, but didn't say anything. He continued to perfunctorily, "Then you came to me today, is there something else?" Matt Cohen smiled, holding the cigar and said, "Yes, there is something. I think the conditions we offer are too generous, which seems to be detrimental to the interests of the company. The global box office of Bad Guys has exceeded 600 million. Did you know that?" He exhaled smoke, but muttered to himself. This was said without any reason, and the next sentence did not connect with the previous one. Matt Cohen frowned when he heard it. The two looked at each other, each with deep meaning. "Oh, really? I haven't paid much attention to this aspect, or I just found out about it today." Europa Films' investment share in the Saw project was not high, so naturally some people would have objections to this. However, what Luc Besson didn't expect was that the board of directors behind it seemed to have some opinions. Just look at who came to ask. Do you really think he doesn't know anything? Nowadays, the internal personnel relations and equity distribution of slightly larger film companies are quite complicated. Even if Luc Besson is the most powerful one on the surface, and can be the master, even if he has a good vision, and can find good projects for the company, discover new talents, and even create profits continuously, but there will still be people who have other ideas. Money is attractive, but it is always difficult to satisfy. The company only accounts for 30% of the box office revenue, which should be a bit too little. How could it be? There is some profit without taking risks. What else can you ask for with such a good thing? Luc Besson looked across and smiled indifferently. "So you are quite satisfied?" "I thought too much." Matt Cohen continued, "Then I won't disturb you from your work." He put out his cigar, said a few polite words, and left. Seeing the office door close again, Luc Besson's smile gradually faded until it disappeared. His eyes turned to a financial report of the company for the first half of the year on the table. The figures on it are actually very good, but there are always people who think it is not enough, or even think it can go further. The idea is good, but the brain is not very smart. It can't turn around. Although they are a distribution company, and are at the top of the industrial chain, what's the use without downstream supply? It's all in vain. If their company's manufacturing department is powerful, it's okay, just like Disney now. Even if the business of live action movies has not been improved, it still has a strong market share among the 6 majors with its own foundation. But does Europa Films have these? It doesn't have them. Why are you so bold to think too much? Lack of good works, and not carefully attracting capable directors, really develop well, and burst with self-confidence? Don't you know that in the entertainment industry, talents are no worse than channels? He tried hard to maintain the cooperative relationship between the two parties in front, but there were still people who were sarcastic behind him. Just for this, Luc Besson really wanted to curse. Aren't good directors an alternative industry resource? They can make money, they can make a lot of money, and they still want to squeeze, and be harsh in various ways. What are they thinking? Is it because they don't want to cooperate with Europa Films, or what? In this world, will there be anyone who can't get along with profits? Or, with Lyman's current qualifications and status, there will be a lack of investment from film companies? He knows the limits. Why did his own company produce fools? Have you seen Lyman put forward particularly excessive conditions? Which time was not based on past achievements, and he fought for it appropriately, and he was willing to show goodwill. Which time was not his final compromise, just for the continued cooperation between the two parties. In fact, Lyman was afraid of trouble here, and he didn't want to delay the progress of filming because of a small disagreement, so he always made concessions calmly at the last moment of negotiation, above his own bottom line. But in Luc Besson's view, this is a manifestation of goodwill and knowing when to advance and retreat. Moreover, as a director himself, he can understand how great it is for Lyman to be both productive and successful in the market. Like himself, he often only tinkers with a work in 2 or 3 years, which is also the norm for most directors in the industry. After all, ideas are hard to come by, and turning ideas into reality and winning the love of the audience is even harder. With such talents, why not cherish the cooperation? In his view, some people are just crooked and have nonsense ideas. In order to fight for power and profit, even obvious facts can be temporarily thrown aside and pretended not to see, which is also amazing. Luc Besson put out his cigar, put it away carefully, stood up, and paced back and forth in the office thinking about his thoughts. After a while, he picked up the phone and called his assistant. Notify the company's senior management to hold a meeting at 1 p.m. He looked at his watch. It was about 10 a.m., so he ordered this. Okay. The assistant nodded and hurried to notify the meeting. He sat back in his office chair, frowning slightly. It seems that it is necessary to clean up the board of directors. There are too many shareholders. There are too many people and too many ideas. How can this work? It just so happens that the company's performance has been good in the past 2 years. Many people are more willing to support him. Whether it is a repair case or other means, it can always be sorted out. For the future development of the company, he can no longer allow too much noise. Luc Besson thought to himself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Deleted Scene. The Crew of Saw. Director Lyman, you're finally here. James Wan seemed extremely happy. It was like someone who suddenly fell into the water grabbed a strong arm and regarded it as a support. But Lyman was not in such a good mood. Anyone who rushed from France to Los Angeles would be like this. This guy suddenly called last night and said that something happened. Oh, I'm tired. It was clearly agreed that I don't have to worry about the crew, but in the end. The thing is, during this period, as soon as the project was approved, James Wan was busy raising the crew. The production staff and the shooting team are easy to deal with. After all, Paramount Pictures and Europa Films have a lot of such candidates with mature production experience. Location scouting and renting shooting equipment are also easy to deal with, and it takes some time to quickly speed up the progress. But the only thing that James Wan has no way out is the actors. Although major brokerage companies can provide a large number of excellent actor clients, the problem is that James Wan is not very familiar with them. He auditioned on site several times, but he was unable to find all the role lineups. Seeing that the crew's preparatory work was almost completed, he couldn't let this delay the filming plan, so he thought of Lyman. He has made many movies and is familiar with many actors, so he must be able to give some suggestions. With this idea in mind, James Wan carefully determined the time difference between the two places and waited until about 8 o'clock in the evening before calling. Lyman, the crew is short of actors. Please come and help me. Don't make a fuss. Lyman only had this thought at the time, but he still rushed over. It's no other reason. He wants to support the people, and he has to do it with tears and trouble. Are you saying that you haven't confirmed a main actor yet? James Wan nodded in a provocative manner. You also know that actors have to match each other. I haven't even confirmed the leading role yet, and I have no idea about the candidates for other actors with heavier roles. Lyman is also a director, of course he knows this, but the problem is that he has always had a clearer casting direction in his mind, unlike this guy, who still said that he doesn't like them. It's really fucked up. In a movie, basically all the plots, other characters and even conflict points are centered around the main actors. It is very important whether the styles and auras of these main actors can match each other, which also determines the hierarchy between other roles serving them. The supporting actors can compete with them, but they cannot overshadow them. If the audience's impression of a supporting actor is deeper than that of the main actor after the movie is over, and there is still a sense of existence, it can only mean that the director was blind when choosing the actor, or the movie itself is a big bad movie. Of course, another reason cannot be ruled out. He has the support of the sponsor, so it doesn't matter how he performs. This is my first time directing and shooting independently. I don't have much experience. I haven't had the opportunity to get involved in these things before. My vision is too narrow. You have made so many movies, you must know a lot of actors. Sorry for bothering you. James Wan's attitude was very humble. After all, he was very embarrassed. It felt like he was slapped in the face for bragging. What's the name? But the matter is really too much to handle. There is no way. It's the first time for a newcomer. Lyman can understand. Besides, he can't just ignore it. The money has been invested, so he has to hear the sound. Lyman lowered his head and pondered for a while, then asked, "What do you think?" James Wan said hurriedly, "The two main characters, Adam and Lawrence, are trapped in a room. The former is kind but cunning, while the latter is calm and smart. There is also a policeman and the perverted killer Jigsaw. The other minor roles have been found." At the end, he added, "Fortunately, there are only 4 people, and James Wan has a good idea of the characters, so it doesn't seem to be very troublesome." Lyman took a sip of water, calmed down, took the shooting schedule, and said, "I can help you with it." After a pause, he looked at James Wan again, "But if I join, you have to change some places. What do you say? Can you blur those bloody shots? There are many large-scale scenes in Saw, but the key is that James Wan's shooting ideas are very naked, and he wants to show every wound completely, carefully, and realistically. To be honest, it can make people vomit. It's disgusting enough. There are many ways to depict the degree of bloodiness, and James Wan happens to be the most direct one. This guy is also an extremely tough director. On the surface, all those who have worked with him say that he is very shy. But deep down, and in his heart, he seems to have a devil. He always has a strong visual sense of blood, brutality, torture, and fear. When this shooting concept is presented in a movie without restraint, it can often be more sharp. For example, Dead Silence, Insidious, and The Conjuring. Specifically, it is the weirdness reflected from the depths of the heart. No. James Wan got angry when he heard it and repeatedly emphasized, "What I want is the sharpness and authenticity of the lens. This is a way of expression. It can reflect the ideas that the film wants to convey." Lyman waved his hand and interrupted him, saying, "Since I'm going to participate, I will definitely limit this aspect. You don't want this movie to be classified as NC-17 as soon as it is shot." James Wan opened his mouth, wanting to explain something, but said nothing. He is a smart man. He has already mastered the necessary subject of making compromises as a director. Besides, what Lyman said makes sense. If this movie is classified as NC-17 by the approval agency because it is too bloody, Saw, which is a niche movie, will further reduce the audience group. In this case, if the investment fails, wouldn't his film career be sentenced to death from the beginning? No, I can't think about it anymore. James Wan gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "Okay, I promise you, I will try my best to control the use of close-up shots." Lyman didn't say anything, just nodded slightly. Appropriate large-scale shots can indeed increase the viewing interest of these specific groups, but everything should be done in moderation. In his opinion, James Wan's early works were a bit crazy, and he would not control them. When it came to Dead Silence, he slowly changed. But now, since he has decided to join the group, it is better to correct it from the beginning. If he was not needed, Lyman would not say anything. He could shoot whatever he wanted. He could still check the editing process. At most, he could reshoot some scenes. Anyway, Saw did not have many characters or scenes, so it was quite simple to shoot. But things have come to this point, so what else can he say? Lemon has always been a strong boss, especially when it comes to filming movies. Chapter 184 Bald Adam, Subscription Recommendation. When choosing actors, you rely on connections, which is the basis of all premises. The second is the value, which is the most realistic and practical issue. After all, if you insist on finding a celebrity in a low-budget movie, you are crazy. Unless they are willing to reduce their salary or make a guest appearance, there is no chance. Finally, consider the image and performance skills. On the other hand, in the category where the first two are satisfactory, the last one is the key to the choice. Hotel, living room. Because the house decoration and customized furniture have not been completed, Lemon still lives in the hotel. It was just after dinner. A notebook was spread out on the small wooden table in front of the sofa, and the preliminary screening of various actors by major brokerage companies was placed next to it. Lemon was half sunk in the soft sofa, thinking. After thinking left and right, his mind jumped for a long time, but he couldn't figure it out. There was no clue, and he didn't know where to start. Finally, he simply spread out the paper and listed the actors he had worked with one by one. Heath Ledger is out of the question. He is actually quite suitable, but he is currently filming Brokeback Mountain and has no time. The remaining ones are either too expensive or their image and style do not match at all. In the end, it seems that only a few are suitable. Jason Statham, Hugo Weaving and J.K. Simmons. Looking at these names, he suddenly had some ideas. They seemed quite suitable. Moreover, the budget of Saw is much larger than the $1.2 million in the previous life, so the selection can be more comprehensive. At least some people who have no acting skills will not be allowed to perform. The actor who played Adam in the previous life was James Wan's friend and the screenwriter of this film, Leigh Whannell. This is helpless. After all, the shooting budget is too low and there is no other way. Now that he has money, he must polish it well to make a good start for the series. Under the lights, Lemon began to analyze the role. He is very good at this. There are several main characters. Let's talk about Lawrence first, middle-aged, with a gentle face. There is no requirement for body shape, but whether fat or thin, it is very appropriate to shape that kind of temperament. The script only briefly mentions his family relationship. After being with his wife for a long time, the relationship began to become indifferent and formatted. They lived their own lives together, and divorce was just a formality. Many incompatible couples are like this, but they have some concerns, and have not taken the last step, but it is actually similar. Lawrence is a professional doctor, obsessed with work, and has an affair with his intern. One day, a patient was diagnosed with cancer, and then the story unfolded. To support this kind of role, the actor himself must have a certain doctor's feeling, can't talk too much, but absolutely firm, have opinions and confidence. The character setting is not complicated and easy to analyze, but who should play it? Lemon outlined it with his eyes closed. Like a doctor, he is calm and indifferent in his bones, which can make people subconsciously convinced. Well, it seems that Hugo Weaving is very suitable. This is a good actor who can drive the audience's emotions with just his voice. In V for Vendetta, Mr. V, who always wears a mask, still becomes the soul of the whole film. Even without expression, people can feel the changes in the character's emotions by relying on the tone, which undoubtedly requires skill. He opened his eyes and drew a circle on Hugo Weaving's name. Next is Adam, the protagonist who plays opposite Lawrence. He is indifferent and disrespectful to life, which is why he was caught by Jigsaw. He looks kind on the surface, but he is extremely cunning and likes to deceive. He is a person who tells lies as truths and doesn't think there is anything wrong with it. In short, the image and temperament should be separated. This is also a difficult part to handle. It should look very ordinary, but if you really act like that, it is too ordinary, and it is easy to have no sense of existence. Who should it be? Lemon blinked his eyes, and his thoughts were not as smooth as before. Honest, but not honest. Can he do it? His appearance is quite in line with the setting of an honest man, but in terms of performance, never mind. This is something that James Wan should consider. How to train actors is also a compulsory course for a director. What is there to worry about? Just choose someone who matches the image. In an apartment in the UK, a middle-aged man with shaved hair and a bald head is sitting on the sofa and answering the phone. With thick eyebrows and big eyes, he looks like an honest man. It's just these muscles and a strong body that don't seem to be easy to mess with. As the saying goes, good things should be kept in the family. Lyman has always been open about his tradition of using acquaintances. The film industry is a very realistic place. Human relationships and connections have created a circle that is like a spider web and intricate. Besides, isn't it human nature to give priority to one's own people? As a human being, there are close feelings and distances. There is nothing worth mentioning in selecting actors based on this condition. As long as they can meet certain casting standards, of course, acquaintances will be given priority. And this time, for the role of Adam, Lyman wanted Jason Statham to try it. Although he has always starred in action movies, after all, with his muscular body, he looks like a thug or a gangster. And he is not good at acting, so it may be difficult for him to play the role of Adam, but he has worked with Lyman before. Give him a chance. It would be good to make a breakthrough. Expand his acting range. Okay, I'll be there right away. The bald man with thick eyebrows and big eyes hung up the phone happily. It was Jason Statham who had just been notified of the invitation. Since the word of mouth and box office success of Bad Guys, in addition to the great gains of the film's creators, his life in Hollywood has become better and better. With this high attention, the film company is also quite good at taking advantage of the popularity. It also made Jason Statham's acting career quite busy in recent times. In just 2 months, he filmed 3 movies in succession. Although the roles are still not very important, at least he has a role to play. He is not picky, he can make money, and he can also act, increase his industry qualifications, and become more famous. What else is there to dislike? It's much better than when he first encountered obstacles and didn't get a movie in a year. People should always be content. He is quite content. This change also made Jason Statham more grateful to Lyman. After the movie was released, he made more than one phone call to express his gratitude. But he didn't expect that he would be invited by him again. Could it be that everything he imagined in the Paramount actor reception room that day will come true? Is it a dream? If so, please don't wake me up. Jason Statham was so happy that he called his agent. Of course, the agent didn't know that the preparations for Saw were still very private. There is no way. Since we have an appointment, I might as well go first. Chapter 185 Confirmation of the Linoop. Please subscribe and recommend. The next day, in a coffee shop in Los Angeles, Jason Statham, wearing a grey short-sleeved shirt, crossed his legs, looking outwards constantly, stirring the coffee in front of him with his right hand, looking a little impatient. But without a hat, he was still so conspicuous in the huge coffee shop. As soon as Lyman entered, he saw him. Jason Statham, who had been paying attention to the situation at the door, knew that Lyman had arrived without exception, and quickly stood up and greeted him. "Hi, Director Lyman. You've been waiting for a long time." Lyman said apologetically, "I'm really sorry, there was a traffic jam on the road just now, and I was delayed for a while." No, I just got here too." Jason Statham smiled politely and led Lyman to his seat. The two sat face to face in the corner by the window on the southwest side. The waiter brought another cup of coffee and placed it in front of Lyman. Jason Statham smiled friendly again, and with his thick eyebrows and big eyes, he really looked like the real deal. In terms of acting, there may still be some challenges, but in terms of the character's temperament, Jason Statham's appearance is at least suitable. Lyman calmly finished talking about the play. For a moment, although Jason Statham felt a little disappointed, he still had the desire to participate in the play. He was also excited. The reason for the slight disappointment was naturally that, after listening to Lyman's talk about the new play, he found out that he was not the director, but the newcomer James Wan. However, he has also met director James Wan, and this movie is produced by Lyman, so he is still quite interested. "If possible, let your agent come to Paramount tomorrow, okay? Then let's talk about it. I have something else to do." By the way, Man Studio also needs an actor with action and martial arts skills to take on the facade. Before this, Heath Ledger was undoubtedly the top cooperation ace. Nicolas Cage was also good at acting, and Tom Cruise. The relationship between them was barely good, but it seemed that they had never been able to show off the action film genre. You can't expect Cage to be handsome and cool. If he was really given such a role, he probably wouldn't agree. If Jason Statham could be made famous, from his image to his temperament to his figure, it would be completely in line with the development direction of the screen tough guy. It's very suitable, isn't it? After meeting with Lyman, Jason Statham directly called his agent to confirm the invitation. On the other side, James Wan, Raineva and others were not idle either. At the same time, they were also making intensive preparations for the next filming. Oh, I forgot to mention that Raineva was not only the screenwriter of this film, but also one of the assistant and part-time production managers of Saw. After getting the opportunity, James Wan did not forget his good friend and planned to help him get closer to the producer or director and learn from the actual crew experience. It's pretty good, at least it can be seen that he is loyal and does not forget his roots, and his character is undoubtedly very secure. When it comes to projects like Saw, although the investment is not high, there is no shortage of things and work. After Lyman initially settled Jason Statham, he began to look for other main actors. Inviting Hugo Weaving was quite smooth. This person is the typical example of a person who is popular for his role, but not for himself. He has good acting skills, but his salary is not high. After all, capitalists pay more attention to the audience market. Even if your performance is good, most of the audience do not have such a clear concept in their minds. If you can't remember people and have no fan appeal, that's it. But such old actors are also popular in the circle, and they don't worry about filming at all. It's like a very precisely made instrument, which needs such a stable existence. It seems inconspicuous, but it can provide some kind of guarantee for performance. And Hugo Weaving was very happy after receiving the call. Lyman was even more straightforward. The budget was sufficient anyway. Although the role of Dr. Lawrence he was going to play was not the one with the most scenes, the remuneration was quite sincere. He did not hesitate and signed the contract immediately. Then, only Jigsaw was left. Hi. After the call was connected, Lyman, who was slumped on the sofa, immediately sat up and greeted Simmons. How are you doing recently? No problem. Is there anything I can do for you? You can hear his ease in his words. After all, he is not short of movies to shoot. That's right, I have a movie that needs a role. Do you have time? I'm going to participate in a Warner movie next month. What do you think? The role is not very long. I estimate that your part can be finished in a week or two. How about it? Is it okay? Really? Okay, I'll come tomorrow. For a role like this with not many scenes, it is completely a face saving for Lyman to invite such an old actor to participate. Maybe it was because Bad Guys performed well, or maybe Simmons had a good impression of him. Anyway, when discussing the salary the next day, this person directly asked for a friendly price, $300,000. After all, after reading the specific script, it is obvious that Jigsaw is not a character with many frontal shots. It is not an exaggeration to say that he played a supporting role throughout the whole scene, and only the final reversal gave him more shots. Since it was a guest appearance, J.K. Simmons also thought very well and just did a favor. Lyman did not lack that little salary, but the other party was really sincere and he could not resist. What could he do? It was considered as owing a favor. In the reception room of Paramount, Lyman shook hands with him very sincerely to express his gratitude. The contract was also signed, and Simmons chuckled and said, "Well, when can this movie start shooting?" "In the next few days. Don't worry, we will definitely give priority to shooting your scenes, and it will not delay your schedule," Lyman promised. "Well, let me know when the time comes." Simmons sat in his seat and thought for a while, then smiled and said, "Don't take care of me too much. If we rush the shooting, it will not be beautiful. If there is a conflict with Warner, I will discuss it with them." Lyman pursed his lips, not knowing what to say. He is afraid of other sudden goodwill. The first one is Heath Ledger. He traveled thousands of miles to Cannes, France alone, and took buried with a very low salary. To be honest, the crew was really poor at that time. Everything had to be calculated carefully. People never complained. The food was not good. They had to endure the high temperature and lie in a small wooden coffin to shoot closed scenes. Lyman saw it all. And Cage, when Windtalkers failed, he was still able to take on the same type of fury. He also remembered this favor in his heart. He is not good at saying polite words, and always likes to use actions. So, when filming, he always thinks of these people first. Of course, these people are not bad. It can be seen that the cooperative relationship between the two sides can be maintained so well. After all, favors are something that sometimes just pass, right? Chapter 186 Movie Subscription Recommendation. Overall, the casting was quite successful. Jason Statham, J.K. Simmons, Hugo Weaving, plus a few minor supporting roles, all of their salaries added up to only about $5 million. And with this combination of actors, they went to shoot a low-budget cult thriller. Wow, I don't know how much higher the level is than the previous Loop. James Wan made a movie for the first time, and he was able to do this, which was really a big profit. As the crew's preparations were gradually completed, the filming work could also be carried out in an orderly manner. Next, the actors and directors met again to arrange specific filming matters. Lyman didn't get involved in these things. They talked about their own things. He was just a producer and didn't intend to interfere with the filming. He hated others pointing fingers at his movies, so naturally he didn't want to be that annoying person. After finishing these troublesome things, it was already the end of June, and Lyman could finally settle down, plan his own work. In the hotel living room, he continued to create storyboards. On the smooth white paper, a country villa gradually took shape. The sun is shining brightly outside, and a woman in the house is forcing a smile, staring at the man on the bed. Next to this shot, a pencil outlines a large area of blank space. Another woman seems to have walked out of another world and looks at the two people in the house, with envy and regret in her eyes. A straight line separates the two scenes, implying that the space does not blend. At sunset, Lyman gradually completed his idea. The film industry is extremely busy all year round. There are always a large number of drama projects being established or being prepared. In France, although local films are always beaten by Hollywood blockbusters, there are few places in the world that can resist the offensive of Hollywood films. The national government also wants to support this aspect, so countless literary and artistic films and literary and artistic filmmakers have been born. Anyway, it is to compensate the country's money, so why not waste it? With this mentality, France will never lack new film projects. However, although there are many actors in this place, there are not many big names with international influence. With their status and position, their resources must be good. Anyway, there are only a few people who can support big dramas. For actresses, it is even more important to stand out. I don't know how many invitations I will receive every year, and small companies and small crews can't curry favor with them at all. This is the case with Sophie Marceau. Schedule arrangements are always annoying. But this summer, she has not made any plans. She has been waiting since she met Lyman that time. Fortunately, she didn't wait too long. In late June, a script was sent to her home. Lyman was honest and kept his word. He promised to make a decision after reading the script, and then he executed it decisively. The name on the cover is very likable, called Macro Love. The general content of the film can be referenced in the films before you, love letters, and if love has destiny. The script is accompanied by notes on the shots of each scene. Sophie Marceau read it several times and liked it more and more. It is said that, whether it is France or Hollywood, the mainstream of love movies is the kind of ups and downs, desperate, touching and passionate love. It seems that it is not called love if it is not like this. For example, Jack and Rousey in Titanic, and Wallace and the Princess in Braveheart. But what Lyman wanted to shoot was an oriental love, the kind of plot that does not deliberately pursue drama, nor is it bloody and fiery, just telling a little thing about love in a plain way. There is no kissing or rolling in the sheets in the whole script, which seems quite surprising to Sophie Marceau. The love in it has no result, or even no ending. But for some reason, every time I read it, I can relax my mind and immerse myself in the story that has been shaped. In Western culture, everyone advocates the straightforward pursuit of love. If you like someone, you have to say it out loud and be together. Perhaps, Sophie Marceau also had this concept in her early years. During the filming of Wild Love, she fell in love with director Zulawski. He was 26 years older than her, and almost everyone opposed this age gap relationship, including her parents. But Sophie Marceau made no secret of her love for him. In 2001, they broke up peacefully. Sophie Marceau also became less and less interested in love. This script made her see her own shadow. For a moment, she really wanted to fly to Los Angeles immediately to meet Lyman and talk to him about his creative thinking, his ideas, his concepts. But in the end, rationality overwhelmed emotion. Sophie Marceau still asked her agent to help contact and communicate. She wanted to act in this movie. Lyman hugged Eva Green and told her about the new play. You need to think carefully about the script and the role. If you are completely overwhelmed by Sophie Marceau, it will be very bad. Eva Green looked at him and smiled faintly. I will try my best. Have you read the background information of the role? You can think more about it and improve it more. Even the character biography was specially prepared for her. This kind of care made Eva Green particularly happy. She was very happy in her heart. Suddenly she remembered something and asked again, when will the filming start? It will probably take another month. Lyman added, the actor's contract has not been finalized yet. The shooting location, the crew team, and the location and props will all take time. Eva Green listened and nodded with a bright smile. She was actually quite proud in her bones. She didn't feel any pressure at all about acting with a long-established actress like Sophie Marceau. Instead, she held her breath and wanted to prove herself. Just like in Bad Guys, she chose a role with fewer scenes and more challenges. As an actor, she actually has aspirations. Recognition from the audience, recognition from film critics, or something else. Everyone needs to be recognized, and she is no exception. As for the establishment of the film project, Europa Films has already prepared the case. The cooperation model is similar. The only thing worth mentioning is that the filming budget of this movie is actually not much. It is far worse than Bad Guys, and not as good as Fury. The total cost will be around $15 million US. After all, it is a love movie and there are no big scenes. The scenery is relatively easy, and the demand for props is not high. In terms of actor salaries, except for Sophie Marceau, the salaries of others are also at the lower middle average level in the industry. Although Eva has acted in several dramas, they are all supporting roles. This is her first movie in which she is actually the protagonist. Based on her past performance, her worth is certainly not that good. Chapter 187 Concepts. Subscription recommendation. July 1st, the weather was still good, very sunny. According to the auspicious date of the day, it is still marked as suitable for going out, marriage, sacrifice, decoration, and groundbreaking, but not for burial and opening a business. Of course, foreigners don't believe this, and Lyman doesn't believe it either. For Eva Green, it doesn't matter. She has been out for nearly half a month to promote her. In mid-June, Lyman went to France to meet her. Later, the two flew to Los Angeles at the same time. It's been a long time since I saw her, and I miss her very much. The two stayed in the hotel all day. When the girl is not working, she rarely gets up early. Last night, she just stopped fighting and had a good rest. Well, it seems that if she doesn't stop fighting, she will sleep well. After all, that thing is a burden for the man. Haven't you heard of the more you sleep, the more moisturized? Lyman thinks it makes sense. Anyway, if he fights like this day after day, his body will get worse day by day, but Eva is getting more and more energetic. Strange. On this day, Lyman was still lying in bed, and Eva got up carefully, trying not to disturb him. After dressing up, she was ready to sneak into the gym and the suite to exercise. As a female star, she always has to shape her body and pay attention to her figure. After the exercise, she took a shower and changed her clothes. Looking at Lyman, he was still lying in the bedroom. Eva was a little bored and suddenly thought of her parents, so she called them. It was her mother who answered the phone. As soon as she opened her mouth, she asked why she remembered to call them. Is there something wrong? Eva was a little embarrassed. It seemed that, if she had nothing to do, she really didn't like to call them, but her mother called them. Moreover, she really only remembered to call when she had something to do. I have to rent a new house myself. You can talk to my aunt about the previous one. The reason why her parents could rest assured when she went abroad to study was that the house belonged to her mother's friend, and he had taken good care of her in the past 2 years. However, Lyman wanted her to live in the house he bought if she was in Los Angeles in the future. In this way, the two of them would live together again, instead of staying in a hotel. Eva Green was naturally very tempted, and she also told her mother not to bother her friend anymore. You have money? Why do you want to rent a new apartment? The mother felt something was wrong. After all, Eva never told her daughter about her relationship with Lyman. Her sister guessed a little, but she didn't know who it was. You just want to be closer to Hollywood, so that you can get more roles. After much persuasion, she finally got over the topic. Then you should pay more attention over there, and take care of yourself. Okay, mom, I'll hang up now. You kid, you don't have anything to say to me. She grumbled and hung up the phone. Outside, the sun was shining. Eva walked out of the hotel lobby and looked at the pedestrians on the side. She kept looking around. She had never left her family's sight since she was a child. This was the case in France, and her mother's friends also looked after her when she was studying. Suddenly thinking about living with Lyman, she didn't know what she was thinking. She felt a little melancholy. She retracted her gaze and looked back at the stairs of the hotel. The steps were clean, and then she saw Lyman walking down with an umbrella. What are you looking at? When she got closer, Eva stood at the door of the hotel and looked at him. Nothing. Then let's go. I'll take you to see the house and the decoration. Are you satisfied? If there is anything you want to change, just let me know. The decoration company hasn't finished the work yet. He opened his umbrella and put his arm around Eva's shoulders. He had been resting in the hotel for a few days. After being tired of each other, he said he wanted to see the house Lyman bought. The two of them went to a restaurant for lunch first. The food provided by the hotel was not as good as the food here. They got in the car and swayed. It was not until 1:30 in the afternoon that they arrived in Beverly Hills. Several weeks have passed since the purchase. The house has not changed much. Originally, the requirements were very simple. There was no repair or construction, and the design style was not changed. They just added some things according to the original decoration layout. This made the decoration company that took the job quite depressed. There was no place to show their talents. How could they increase the fees? They couldn't make much money. Wow, it's so beautiful. Eva Green's eyes widened as soon as she stepped into the front yard. The spacious lawn and modern and simple style are very eye-catching. She looked at Lyman and made a pretentious comment. The location is good. The lighting and ventilation are good. The view is also good. Ah, yes. Nonsense. The house is on the top of the hillside. How can it not have a good view? From here, you can see the bustling pedestrian street in the distance. Let's go inside and take a look. Eva took Lyman and went to the main building again. When they came to the bedroom and saw the big bed, she asked again, "Is this the master bedroom?" "Well, how about it? In addition to this bed, I also changed the closet, but the rest did not change. Do you have any ideas?" "It's pretty good. It is indeed pretty good. Dressing tables, bedside tables, even computers, TVs on the wall, floor-to-ceiling windows and cloakrooms. Everything is available. The key is that the space is large enough and looks bright." The two ran from this room to another and went to the backyard to see the tennis court, swimming pool and garage. After looking at them all, they returned to the large balcony of the master bedroom. This place has the best view and can overlook the foot of the mountain. Although the trees on both sides were sparse, they made people feel very good. The sun was shining and the wind was blowing gently. The body and mind were comfortable. In this scene, Lyman looked at Eva and she seemed to notice his gaze and turned around to look at him. "What are you looking at me for?" "No, I was thinking, according to the plot designed most in movies, you should jump on me and kiss me at this time. I'm waiting." Eva burst out laughing. She laughed happily, and suddenly, she took a deep breath and jumped on him flexibly. This kiss was very long, almost making Lyman breathless. He finally understood why. He took a deep breath. He held her up, and she put her arms around Lemon's neck, and her whole body hung on him like a sloth. It's true that the girl looks thin, but her figure is quite good, with convex places and curvy places. It's just a little heavy. It's more difficult than lifting a camera. After a long time, their lips parted. She looked at him, and smiled happily again. This summer has not passed yet, and busy days will always come again. For Lemon, the new journey has not yet begun, but the old journey needs to be completed. With the support of Europa Films, the Macro Love project is being prepared step by step, but Bad Guys also has some things to deal with. After so many days of screening, it can't hold on. The market is saturated, and there is no profit to be made. What's the point of dawdling? North America will take it off. It has no choice but to take it off. The theaters won't show it. Chapter 188, The Era of Big Production. Please subscribe and recommend. Some people may wonder why many Hollywood film companies are so fond of high investment works after entering the new millennium. Almost every year, they shoot a large number of projects with investment costs exceeding 100 million or even 200 million, and invite several superstars to join them. Don't they know that high investment brings high risks? Aren't they afraid of failure? Of course they know, and even the number of senior executives of various companies who have stepped down because of poor projects is unknown. But why do they continue to implement this kind of investment policy? Isn't it safer to make a small bet for a big gain? For example, Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project. But if you think about it carefully, you will find that there are more works of this type, or more works, that make big profits from blockbuster investments. Probability and risk return ratio may give you the answer. The reason why the above mentioned works became famous and even used as cases for study by major film companies is not because their success is too difficult to replicate. Blockbuster movies are not like this, and they are more successful every year. Besides, you can't imagine that the films with an investment cost of 100 million to 150 million are the safest projects. They are more likely to earn more than twice the profit than other films. Those that exceed this range, whether higher or lower, will bear the risk of some kind of loss or unsatisfactory income. In other words, those low-cost small-scale films are not necessarily risky. Even if they can always make a profit, the income of a normal blockbuster can equal the income of 5 or 6 small-scale films. How should we calculate the risk of failure caused by market rejection? Anyway, as long as you make a film, there will be investment risks. Converted to big data, it can be regarded as a probability problem, so why not choose a way to minimize the risk and investment return ratio? This is why the era of blockbusters has arrived. Take Bad Guys for example, with a large investment of $100 million plus $60 million in publicity and distribution expenses. It has also achieved very good market results. The final box office in North America was $335.2 million. As for the global market, some places have not yet been released. So far, the total cumulative amount is $688.23 million, and it is still struggling to advance towards the 700 million mark. But such box office data is enough to move any film company, especially for Europa Films. This project is already the best result since the company was founded, and such blockbusters are staged every year. 007, Die Another Day, The Matrix Reloaded, and even Finding Nemo, which is still in theaters, have achieved market returns that match their worth. The former two may not be as amazing as Bad Guys. After all, it is a series of movies and relies on the support of fans. But the latter is more outstanding. It has only been released for more than half a month and has already received 600 million in the global market. I believe that it is not a problem to exceed 700 million, and even 800 million may not stop its pace. Let's talk about the return ratio. Lemon personally participated in the production of Bad Guys in the form of dividends plus fixed salary, while Man Studios purely accounted for a part of the investment share. The three parties jointly undertook the huge risk of production, and accordingly also gained huge market benefits. Just this one work will bring Man Studio an estimated income of $60 million. Of course, this figure must also be deducted from taxes, various taxes. Although it has not been calculated in detail, it is not less than $50 million. This is just the studio, and Lemon can also earn about 10 million personally. After all the films are taken off the screen around the world, the major theaters will pay dividends to Europa Films, and then the final three-party split can be calculated. Then, after deducting the original investment of 15 million, the net profit income will be more than 35 million US dollars. It's very profitable, isn't it? And he still took the least part. Think about Paramount and Europa, these two are the real big heads. The latter still has a long-term meal ticket. Even after the account is divided, the offline market can continue to bring in income. Of course, it can't be compared with now, but at least it is stable. Disney can have such a good annual report every year, which is inseparable from its huge film library. Snow White, which was filmed in 1980, is still making money. The return on this movie is not as high as Buried. After all, the production cost of Buried was only a few $100,000, but it made tens of millions. But in reality, the two are not comparable. As long as a blockbuster is successful, it is indeed not necessarily comparable to several small-scale movies combined. Since it is all risky, why not take more risks and make more money? High investment, high risk, high return. Low investment, high risk, not necessarily high return. If it were you, what would you choose? This is also the reason why Paramount Pictures was very unhappy that Tom Cruise took such a high share in the Mission Impossible series, but had to cooperate with him. It is also the reason why Europa Films gave up part of the profits to Lemon, just to continue to maintain the premise of cooperation. Interests are the similarities between the two. As long as you can make money, everything can be negotiated. Think about it. For a movie like Bad Guys, although Paramount Pictures and Europa Films have not fully disclosed their internal profit figures, as long as you do a little calculation, they have at least made a net profit of more than 100 million. This is the result of deducting costs and taxes, and the actual amount will be even higher. After all, reasonable tax avoidance, everyone knows it. There are too many tricks of big companies, which are not something that an honest person like Lemon can imagine. More importantly, the added value of such a successful blockbuster is also very considerable. Even if we put aside the operation of related copyrights, how should the company's profit from the increase in stock prices due to good news be calculated? A high market value cannot be a bad thing. There are not too many examples of movie companies whose stocks rise or fall due to fluctuations in the movie market. At least, for this time, the shareholders of Paramount Pictures are happy, and Shirley Lansing is also happy. Such a good result finally shut up those people. Perhaps these potential factors are also the reason why those film manufacturers insist on investing in large-scale productions. The success of such a project is enough to raise the performance level by a large section, and the huge returns will also become a strong backing for the company's next production. It's a relatively virtuous cycle. After the film was released in North America, Paramount Pictures was happy and also thought of holding a celebration party. Originally, they were going to hold it when the box office exceeded 100 million, but Lemon refused. Now, everything is almost settled. Lemon has no excuse to continue to disappoint Paramount's kindness. Chapter 189 The Focus of Chasing. Please subscribe and recommend. A big box office success is like the kind of victory in ancient times that inspired people. There must be some form. The so-called celebration banquet is probably like this. In particular, the box office data of Bad Guys is really good. It has basically locked in the top 10 of the North American box office list this year. It is currently second, behind Finding Nemo. This makes Paramount Pictures awesome. They haven't had any works on the top 3 of the annual box office list for several years. Even several movies invested in the beginning of this year did not achieve the ideal expected returns. Although there was no loss, this person is afraid of comparison, right? The performance of several other competitors has lagged behind Paramount by a large margin. How can the annual report be released if it is not good? A listed company like Paramount, a capitalist who wants to make money from shareholders, will not be pleased with the leaks. If the leaks don't invest money and grow, how can they be harvested? Therefore, this is also the reason why Shirley Lansing was questioned and asked to step down. On the surface, the 6 major Hollywood companies still dominate the market, but in fact, they are getting worse every year. Everyone was anxious and held their breath. It just so happened that at this time, the movie Bad Guys beat all the works released in the same time period and continued this hot momentum and developed all the way to the overseas market. This is earning face. Not only that, the stock price has also risen, which is more important for a listed entertainment company. Are you happy? Of course, you must have a celebration banquet and invite everyone to come. So in fact, this is not an internal carnival, but more like a kind of show-off. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the nightlife begins. The Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills is still brightly lit. Lemon led Eva Green and Thomas to attend this cocktail party. As for Ryan, he didn't come. He went to the set of James Wan Saw. After all, he is also a part of Man Studio, and it is right to work hard for his own career. The wealthy Paramount directly booked the first floor lobby, and there were many guests coming and going. In the exquisitely decorated banquet hall, Lemon was wearing a formal suit, holding champagne, constantly greeting and toasting with all kinds of people. His agent Johnson also stood beside him, specifically reminding him to communicate according to the identity of the visitor. If you need to pay attention, just shake hands and greet. If you don't pay much attention, just nod. In the adult world, even courtesy is full of reality and distinction. Since he walked into this huge banquet hall, there has been no shortage of people around him, like prey stared at by a hungry wolf. They looked at him and considered how to attack. This is also the reason why Lemon was reluctant to attend the banquet, but it was really hard to refuse Paramount's kindness. In fact, it's quite helpless to think about it. Even success has its troubles. Warner Brothers, Sony Columbia Pictures, 20th Century Fox and other first-tier companies, as well as Searchlight, New Line, Lionsgate and other second-tier companies, their senior executives or representatives came over, expressing congratulations, while also testing the possibility of future cooperation. Is it profit-seeking? It's human nature. This is also the director's qualification aura brought by Lemon's success. Perhaps this circle is the place in the world that loves to chase successful people the most. In short, it is just too utilitarian. Should we go over and say hello? Standing not far away, looking at Lemon who was busy with socializing, Adam Sunderland said to his boss Ron Mayer, "Of course, he deserves our attention." Ron looked as if it was natural. Although, in the previous days, they were crazy about smearing Bad Guys and spreading rumors about Tom Cruise. But at that time, they were competitors, so what was wrong with using some tricks? Now it is different. There is no conflict of interest. Lemon continues to prove his directorial ability. This is also an object that Universal Pictures needs to win over. I believe that most of the people present came for this reason. Adam is no stranger to the shamelessness and thick skin of his boss. Seeing that the crowd around Lemon has decreased a lot, following Ron, he strode over. This is Ron Mayer, a senior executive of Universal Pictures Distribution Department. The one next to him should be his assistant. Agent Johnson continued to introduce diligently. "Hi, Director Lemon. Congratulations on the box office success of Bad Guys." "Thank you." The two sides shook hands and greeted each other intimately, as if they knew many friends and had a close relationship. The three of them clinked their glasses and drank them all. Ron Mayer smiled and waited for another person who came over to say hello to leave before continuing. "Our company has several projects. I wonder if we can have the honor of working with you." As a businessman, these people spoke very directly. "Or, do you have any ideas that need to be realized? If you lack investment, we at Universal Pictures can provide it at any time. How about it? Can you consider it? I also hope to cooperate with your company, but I don't have any filming plans in the near future." Lemon waved his hand and continued, "When there is a chance, we can talk in detail." "Johnson," Lemon reminded him, and the agent thoughtfully handed a business card to the other party's assistant. Anyway, tonight, no matter who mentioned the matter of cooperation, he would perfunctorily pass it over in this way. The other party was also very tactful. After exchanging business cards, he also politely said goodbye. "Goodbye. I look forward to our cooperation." No one would really take such polite communication seriously, but it is always good to leave a basis for cooperation, whether for Lemon or the film company executives who came to talk. "Congratulations." The next person to toast was Tom Cruise. "Is the matter settled?" Lemon took another glass of champagne from the waiter, clinked glasses, and drank it again. After hiding for so many days, it's finally settled. Tom Cruise smiled self-deprecatingly. This time, the black material has dealt a heavy blow to him. Be more careful. Lemon really didn't know how to comfort him. After all, some things, which are based on hearsay, actually have their source. It's too easy to mess with him. Of course, if you want to bring him down, you have to look at your ability. CAA is not a good person, including the connections he has built in the industry for so many years. Oh, by the way, are you free tomorrow? I want to invite you to dinner. Don't be so polite. Why make it so formal? You'll know when you go. Tom Cruise kept it a secret. He didn't just invite her, he came with a mission. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. What is this? Subscription recommendation required. The story goes back to the day before the banquet. The weather was still very good that day. In the morning, in a large mansion in Beverly Hills. The courtyard is very large, and marble columns with exquisite patterns are carved to form a shaded area. There are flowers and plants planted next to it, all well taken care of. It can be seen that the owner of this house is very rich. Nonsense. How can you live in such a good house without money? Some stones of various shapes are piled up to form a rockery, with a fountain on top, and various ornamental fish swimming below, surrounded by a few clusters of bamboo. Not to mention, the artistic conception is quite good. In the pavilion, there is a conference table in the middle, which occupies more than half of the space. 5 or 6 chairs are arranged in a circle, and they are already full of people. Only the first seat is still empty. This group of people are dressed in formal clothes. They are gentle and look steady. Some look at the reports in their hands, or chat with each other. It seems that they are waiting for someone. The second continued to walk without a millisecond's error. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning. There was movement in the shade pavilion again. There was a sound of footsteps coming from far away, the soles of leather shoes rubbing against the cobblestone pavement, making a unique dada sound. A few seconds later, a man in a white shirt and black trousers came over. President. The people who were sitting before stood up and greeted him. Please sit down. The man waved his hand and sat down at the top seat. How is it? Have the company's recent projects been planned? The speaker, who was called President, was Barry Meir, CEO of Warner Brothers. The others were the backbone of the company's production department. The Harry Potter series is being promoted, but a good director has not been found yet. As for the Batman project, the person in charge of the early planning hesitated for a moment, but still said, there are still many doubts within the company, and the project establishment work has been rejected. Humph, a group of short-sighted people. Barry Meir was a little unhappy. He looked at his direct subordinates, but no one dared to take up the topic, and they all lowered their heads. No one spoke up, so he had to ignore the topic. As for directors, isn't that Lemon very popular recently? Is it possible to invite him? Once this topic came up, the atmosphere finally became lively again. Just as the heat wave of the summer vacation attracted the attention of countless people in the industry, the whole of Hollywood was investing in the box office market. With the outstanding performance of Bad Guys and Finding Nemo, after winning the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, the name Lyman Rattles really left a mark in the minds of the top executives of those major film companies. Unlike the artistic achievements of Three Idiots, the continued success of Fury and this time Bad Guys is a reason why people are paying attention to him. After all, compared to outstanding artistic directors, whether the business ability is excellent or not is what the real Hollywood executives care more about. Because here, profit has always been the industry criterion. Just like Daniel Myrick, who made the Blair Witch Project. At that time, he also became a darling of the circle. But unfortunately, this man seemed to have used up all his talent in his first film. After that, every work he made was a failure. Even the sequel to Blair Witch was a huge loss. But there were still film companies that continued to trust him. In return, the market response was still cold. Finally, he withdrew from the market. From this, we can see how much Hollywood values those who can make profits. Even Wu Beige lost money on 2 or 3 films in a row before he could not stay in Hollywood. And Lyman is another emerging director. Before he failed, there were naturally many people who believed in him. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. We have been in contact with that British director, and it seems that something is wrong. One of them said, "This series of projects has always been the top priority of the company, and the selection of directors is also deliberate. Now this candidate is still at the board meeting. You personally agreed to it. Why did you change your mind?" "No way." Berrymer touched his lower lip and thought for a while, then nodded and said, "What do you think if we let him direct Batman?" The scene became awkward again. Ever since Spider-Man became an invincible box office hit, Warner Brothers has thought about restarting their superhero projects. But the problem is that there are still many people in the company who think it is inappropriate. After all, Superman and Batman were closed because of heavy losses. What if they are restarted rashly and still lose money? Losing a little money is a small matter. What if these 2 golden signs are ruined? Who will take the responsibility? Of course, Berrymer has always been the one who takes the initiative to restart, so he doesn't care about these. What about the shelved new project? He should be very suitable. Berrymer suggested again. The script adapted from the novel Rope Boons. Will he agree? This project is also ill-fated. The original novel was published in 2000, but the author Jerry Boyd was already 70 years old, so the work had been rejected by the publishing company, who thought it was not worth promoting. He did not give up, and went to various major film companies to submit his work, and was finally chosen by director Angelica Houston. But later, the female director lost interest in filming, and the project producer Albert Ludi found Warner again, and recommended it to them. Berrymer also remembered it. "We had submitted invitations before, but Lyman never agreed once." One of them said. Berrymer leaned back in his chair, thought about it, and shook his head again. After all, he is very popular now, and it is reasonable that he has no shortage of film projects. And he can succeed one after another, which must be desirable. Wouldn't it seem that we are not sincere with such a simple invitation? But we are Warner Brothers. When have we not invited directors like this? However, no one said this, but everyone present obviously had this in mind. But Berrymer is different. He is a rare film company executive who likes to personally win over directors. It is also his credit that he can work closely with Christopher Nolan in the future. How about this? Isn't there a cocktail party at Paramount tomorrow? Find someone to express our Warner Brothers willingness to cooperate with him. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Someone responded. Okay, everyone, is there anything else? Berrymer saw that it was getting late, so he also spoke. There's one more thing. One of them picked up the document in his hand and handed it over. "David Bird wants to see you." David Bird is the executive director of Warner Brothers. DC Comics department, responsible for the film and television adaptation business of DC Comics. He is also an ally who has always supported Berrymer to restart Batman. However, his willingness is not as strong as Berrymer's. He took it, glanced at it, and rubbed his brows. "It's really worrying. What are those people thinking? They don't want to watch Sony and Columbia reap the benefits, but they don't want to take risks. Is filmmaking a very simple thing? They are afraid of this and that, and what are they doing? They just occupy positions and do nothing. They are a bunch of rubbish. Recently, they are becoming more and more noisy. What? Are they expressing their dissatisfaction?" After a few curses, the meeting was finally dispersed. Chapter 191 The Middleman Tom Cruise, Subscription Recommendation. Since they wanted to invite each other, they naturally needed someone they knew to go. Warner's management had a way to deal with this matter. They arranged it in a very short time and picked the right person. They had both connections and favors, so it couldn't be more suitable. And the identity of the person who invited him was a little unexpected. At least Lyman couldn't have thought of it. Anyway, when he heard Tom Cruise invite him to dinner at the cocktail party, he felt that there was nothing wrong. The evening breeze was cool, and in a luxury car, Tom Cruise sat in the driver's seat, driving and chatting. "I'm sorry to bother you during that time. What's the matter? If you ask me, it's just that some people are jealous, and you just happen to be unlucky." Lyman whispered in the back seat. "I still want to say thank you. I was able to participate in Bad Guys and my current performance is so good. It helped me a lot. Why are you saying this? If you count it this way, I have to thank you too. We have worked together once. Are we still unfamiliar? That's right. Tom Cruise smiled and said, then we thank each other. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. Lemon felt something was strange. He looked at him in the rearview mirror and asked with a smile, why did you suddenly invite me to dinner last night? And you came all the way here to pick me up. Tom Cruise continued to drive steadily without saying a word. Seeing him like this, Lemon was somewhat certain and asked, did you encounter something and want to find me? Just tell me. You are hesitant like an old woman. The day before yesterday, a friend I know came over and said he wanted my help with something. Lemon was more and more certain that Tom Cruise might have something to ask of him. Then what? He is a member of the management of Warner Brothers. Wait, what? Lemon asked in surprise. Why did the people from Warner Brothers find you? I have worked with them before, and we have a good relationship. As for this matter, I think it will not harm you, so I did not refuse. Why do you involve me again? It is because of you that they want to work with you. Wouldn't it be better for them to say it themselves? Last time they came to you, didn't you refuse? They wanted to try again and talk face to face, so they found me. Tom Cruise was a little embarrassed, to put it bluntly. It is not me who invited you today, but the people from Warner Brothers. I'm just helping you. After talking it out, he felt relieved. After all, the people from Warner Brothers asked him for help, and it was not easy for him to refuse. You still have to give face to such a big company. Tom Cruise is not stupid. He has good emotional intelligence and skills. If he were not, he would not be able to reach his current position. It seems that there is a movie project, and they want you to direct it. Tom Cruise said again. Lemon paused and asked, what project? I don't know about that. When we get there, they will talk to you naturally. The car continued to drive and came to a restaurant called Melissa. This is a restaurant that serves French cuisine and also provides the world's top red wine. It was rated as one of the top 40 best restaurants in the United States by Get and is located high up in a building near Santa Monica Beach. Most of the tables and suites are set up on the side near the sea so that guests can enjoy the sea view. The reason why I say so much is that this restaurant can be said to be a kind of alternative Vanity Fair that considers social status. Without some strength, you can't even get an appointment. As for the other party's choice of dinner here, it can also be seen that the other party is sincere and important. This is a restaurant led by a French chef, and it goes without saying what they are trying to please. It was nearly 8 o'clock in Los Angeles, and the night was already deep. Tom Cruise slowly parked the pure black Cadillac and handed the key to the parking attendant who walked quickly. Lemon also got out of the car and followed Tom into the restaurant. The space inside was large, but there were not many diners, and there was a large area in the middle for the guests to communicate privately. The service supervisor at the porch saw a new guest coming in and immediately greeted him. Good evening, sir. Julie Ma raised her head and looked at the two men in front of her. Tom Cruise's face was very familiar to her, but the one next to him was a little unfamiliar. She quickly searched the information database in her mind, and combined with Tom Cruise's identity, she immediately found the corresponding name. Lyman, a Frenchman, a rising director in Hollywood, has made several films in a row and they have all been great successes. Julie thought so, politely bowed slightly, and stretched out her right hand. Please follow me, both of you. Mr. Mir is here. Walking along the carpet inside, the sound of piano could be faintly heard in her ears. After a while, Julie came to the door of a box, paused, turned around, and smiled. Mr. Latz, Mr. Cruise, indicating that they had arrived at their destination. She knocked on the door again, opened it, and Lemon and Tom walked in. There was already a person sitting inside, and he looked familiar. It seemed to be the CEO of Warner Brothers. What was his name? I forgot. Indeed, Lemon didn't often greet these people, so how could he remember so clearly? At this time, Tom Cruise did not choose to stay any longer. He greeted the man slightly, and it seemed that they had a good relationship with each other. He patted Lemon on the shoulder, said nothing, and left again. The huge box suddenly became quiet. Director Lemon, please sit down. The man stood up, revealing a slightly fat beer belly. I'm really flattered that you went to such great lengths to invite me here. Lemon was not polite and sat opposite him. We didn't want this to happen, but the calls and film offers we made haven't had any effect, so we are a little helpless. Sorry to disappoint you. You seem to want to have dinner with Tom Cruise more than me. The other party spread his hands and showed a teasing smile on his face. This made Lemon blush. This is really his problem. As early as after the release of Three Idiots, which performed well, he always received invitations from many film companies, which made him very annoyed. Later, he simply handed it over to his agent to handle it. He finally understood why CAA had to arrange an agent to answer the phone. Sometimes, dozens of calls came in a day, and it really couldn't be handled without a special person. And his instructions were also very simple, all perfunctory and polite. Anyway, don't bother him. After all, if he really had a project to cooperate with others, it would not be in this form. But he didn't expect that after Warner tried to invite him again and again without success, he would choose to let an acquaintance act as a contact person. It was also very painstaking. Chapter 192, The Value of Lemon, Subscription Recommendation. Looking at Lemon across from him, Berrymeer pinched his fingers, as if thinking about the next line of conversation. Although Warner Brothers is one of the 6 major Hollywood studios, it doesn't seem to be a plus for a director who has no desires. Looking at his past works and attitudes, it can be seen that this man is quite opinionated. But thinking this way, being able to invite him to join would also be a guarantee. As mentioned before, capable directors are also resources in the circle that cannot be ignored. Warner Brothers naturally has no shortage of directors, but lacks those who can produce results. So how to win him over does require further careful consideration. Because Lemon has proved that he is a good chess piece. Yes, a chess piece. For major film companies, especially senior figures like Berrymeer, a capable director is a chess piece on the chessboard. A chess piece that can capture cities and win by surprise. But it is undeniable that this chess piece has already been owned by Paramount and Europa Films, and it is impossible for Paramount and Europa Pictures to let go, and there must be many film companies that have a strong interest in this chess piece. Appetizers were served along with a bottle of red wine that had been decanted for a while. Berrymeer greeted them with a toast and complimented them. Director Lemon, I've seen Bad Guys too. It's great. Thank you. It's just the support of the audience and a little bit of luck. Berrymeer laughed heartily, took a sip of red wine, looked at Lemon, and continued, You're too modest. If I had achieved such results at the age of 27, I'd definitely look down on an old guy like me. Ha, don't say that. Okay, let's talk about something interesting. I still remember when you were preparing to shoot Fury last year, your first choice was Brad Pitt, but then you gave up for some reason and found Nicolas Cage. But I have a question. Why did you find Tom Cruise for Bad Guys? The two of them have very similar paths. Berrymeer has actually worked with a number of first-line movie stars. After all, Warner produces a lot of movies every year, and the range of roles to choose from is limited. Moreover, after the great success of Bad Guys, many gossips have become the topic of discussion among fans. But just like some of Lemon's die-hard fans did not agree with Tom Cruise at the beginning, they thought that such a vast actor would be a kind of flaw. Including Berrymeer, he thought so, and in the past, Lemon was quite picky when choosing actors, such as Brad Pitt. This is no secret in the circle, so he is actually quite curious, not that he has any prejudice against these two people. Anyway, all actors who can bring benefits to Warner, Berrymeer does not care how good their acting skills are. The other party was still being polite, and Lemon was not anxious at all. He followed the topic and said, it was because of the salary. We didn't reach an agreement. As for choosing Tom Cruise, I think he is good. There is no reason not to cooperate with such an actor who has attitude, is dedicated enough, and does not play big cards. It's better than those who have no acting skills and poor professionalism. Besides, if he is trained well, Tom Cruise is not without acting skills, but he has been an idol for a long time, and has too much burden. So it looks unnatural to act, and his box office appeal is really high. It has exceeded 100 million in the first 4 days. The support of fans for him cannot be ignored. Berrymeer was a little surprised when he heard this. He thought that choosing Tom Cruise was because Lemon made a market compromise with Paramount or Europa Films, but he didn't expect that his own perception was not bad. Very good. Barry Mir had a better impression of Lemon. In fact, he paid attention to Bad Guys when it premiered in Cannes, and later the film was released nationwide, which once again proved Lemon's ability. From then on, he wanted to talk to Lemon in person about cooperation. As for the final total market results, it was just icing on the cake and further strengthened his idea. Tom Cruise's screen image this time can be said to be successful, and this is all your credit. Lemon was happy on the surface and couldn't hide his smile on his face for Barry's good words, but he was unmoved in his heart because he knew one thing very well, that the senior executives of a company like Warner would never just meet once. Just like Shirley Lansing's good attitude towards him, that was also based on his ability to bring benefits to the other party. Otherwise, haha, everything is driven by profit, just like him, isn't it the same? He likes making movies, and he also likes Franklin. There is no conflict, and this is why he can listen to Barry Mir's talk now. The movie has been released. He seemed to remember and reminded, I wonder when I can see your new work. There is a plan, but it is hard to say when it will be completed. Lemon joked, I can tell you in advance when the production is completed. So soon, there is a new filming plan? Barry Mir thought to himself. This is really a piece of news that caught people off guard. But the more this is the case, the more you can see Lemon's value, a director with high productivity and excellent market performance, which means too much. You must act first. You are really a busy man. Barry Mir paused and then said as if jokingly, I wonder if we Warner can book the filming schedule for your next movie. Lemon's eyes flickered slightly and he finally came. We'll talk about it later. I'm very willing to cooperate with a big platform like Warner. For him, it doesn't matter who he cooperates with, but Warner is unlikely to offer an outrageous price. In this case, it is better to continue to cooperate with Europa Films and Paramount. It's still the same problem. He doesn't have any special relationship with Warner, and it's not worth it for him to do it. Barry Mir has long experienced Lemon's perfunctory attitude. Maybe you should listen to our project. When he spoke, his eyes were always on Lemon, but he didn't reveal too much emotion. On the contrary, he seemed a little confident in his project movie, and confident that his conditions could impress the other party. Here is the script, and a copy of the original novel. You can take it back and read it. If you are interested, you can call me. While speaking, he handed over another business card. This is my personal phone. Sometimes I'm too busy at work and can't answer it. Try to call me at noon or later. Chapter $193 million Baby. Subscription recommendation. In the early morning, the sunlight sneaked in through the gap of the French window curtains and shone on the bulging quilt. The bed is really big and the quilt is really soft. This is a blessing and effect brought by Franklin. Lying on it, you can clearly feel the charm of money. The surroundings are very tidy, and the bedside lamp is still on. Well, last night, he and Eve moved into the new house and did not stay in the hotel. Maybe he got enough sleep, or maybe it was a reminder from the body. Lemon woke up, looking at the ceiling with delicate patterns on the top, feeling a little strange. Half sitting, stretched lazily, and then rubbed his eyes, looking at Eva Green who was still sleeping on the side. This was his first night in the new home, and the quality of sleep was pretty good. He picked up the mobile phone on the bedside table and looked at it. Oh, it was already past 8 o'clock. But thinking that he didn't seem to have anything to do today, he couldn't help but yawn softly. Forget it, let's get up. It was not good to just sit half sitting and leaning against the bed, so Lemon gently pulled back the quilt and put on his slippers. He came to the side of the bed, which was the front corner of the cloakroom. There was a small cabinet there. This was the awards exhibition hall requested by Eva Green, a testimony to their career honors. Although Lemon was not interested in any awards, the awards given by the selfish judges were, to put it bluntly, just that, so it was better to give him real market box office. At least, it can show that the audience and fans recognize him, right? But that's the logic, and he didn't reject Eva's idea. At this time, there were 2 trophies for 3 Idiots, and 1 for Bad Guys on the small counter, which were the Audience Drama Award at the Sundance Film Festival, the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film, and the Jury Prize at Cannes. As for Eva Green, she didn't even have a nomination, let alone any authoritative awards in the industry. Contempt. However, the spacious 5-layer cabinet was not even full on the first layer, not to mention the space that Eva imagined was too big to fit in. After a short stroll around the bedroom, Lemon went to the bathroom to brush his teeth and wash his face. The bathroom was also very large, and the mirror was bright and shiny, which seemed to magnify the pores of people, and it was so clear. He looked carefully and chose to wash his face again. Well, he was finally not in a bad mood. Although there was a kitchen at home, no one made breakfast. Lemon was lazy and didn't want to do it, and Eva Green didn't know how to do it, but it was no problem to simply heat up toast and make a cup of coffee. Maybe he could wait a few more days and find a suitable chef, and maybe he could start a fire at home. He slowly went to the backyard downstairs and took a walk. Eva had just woken up, but she still needed to change clothes and wash up, so he would wait for a while downstairs, just as a morning exercise. Then, Eva Green also took care of herself. The 2 of them went to a restaurant to get their stomachs ready. July in Los Angeles was not bad after all, not as hot as last month. The pedestrians and vehicles on the street seemed impatient, just like the style of this metropolis. Lemon and Eva walked for a while with great interest, and then waited for his agent Johnson to drive over to pick him up. The 2 of them exchanged a few words casually, and most of the time he was reporting on his work, and Lemon listened carefully. To be honest, he was in a very good mood now. He felt very relaxed and had no worries. Saw was filming in an orderly manner, and Ryan was helping there. His own new work Macro Love was still in preparation, with Thomas and George watching, so he had nothing to do. And the script that Warner executive president Barry Mayer brought to him 2 days ago was, as Tom Cruise said, a good thing. He read the script more than once. To be honest, it aroused his desire to shoot. The story was a good story, and perhaps Barry Mayer knew it, so he was so confident that Lemon would accept it. Of course, it was indeed the case. Good works can easily evoke the soul of a director. Just as he wanted to shoot a story like 3 Idiots after making money from his first movie, now that he has a successful career, he will not refuse such a profound subject. The content is actually very simple. It tells the story of a famous boxer coach who neglected his family because he was too devoted to his boxing career, which led to a mess of life and a relationship between him and his daughter. Many years have passed, and these have become an indelible shadow in the old man's heart, and he has become more and more self-enclosed and depressed. Then, an apprentice named Maggie appeared. She was eager to become famous by boxing and prove herself to the world. The 2 of them had a relationship that was better than that of family members. In later generations, as an inspirational classic movie, $1 Million Baby is a must-see. Lemon has always liked this story. He didn't know that the movie was funded by Warner, but just like the Saw project came unexpectedly before opening the script, Lemon had never thought that this would be the way to witness the birth of this movie. Yes, birth. This 2007 movie came to him 4 years ahead of schedule. Moreover, he also decided to direct it. After the filming of Macro Love is completed, he will officially sign a contract with Warner and take over the director's baton of this movie. It is a very happy thing for him to be able to shoot a work that he liked very much in his previous life. And Barry Mayer was in a good mood when waiting for Lemon's affirmative answer. He has more plans in the future, and now it depends on whether Lemon has the strength to match it. Warner Studios. A place that is very lively all year round. Countless crews will choose this place when filming in Los Angeles. A shooting studio with cheap rent. A perfect shooting process. Everything you need can be found. And Lemon's destination today is naturally here. It's nothing else. He was free during the filming of Saw. As the nominal producer of this film, he wanted to come and take a look. Well, he was also a little worried that James Wan's experience on the set was not rich enough, and he was afraid that something would go wrong. As for the technique of directing the lens, he had nothing to question. Agent Johnson parked the car steadily, and the 3 of them went to Studio 3 2 by 1. The entire studio was rented by the crew. Once inside, seeing the crew busy at work, Lemon looked around carefully, and without disturbing James Wan's work, he went to find Ryan. Some things can be clarified by asking him. Chapter 194. All new directors are like this. Please subscribe and recommend. I, Ryan, am the actual producer of Saw. Lemon is just a fake. Okay, all of the above are just angry words. Because Ryan is really angry, not because of Lemon's irresponsibility, but because director James Wan is too wasteful. You should know that the production cost of Saw is as much as 15 million. After deducting the cost of the actors, there are still more than 8 million. It has only been less than 4 days since the start of filming, and the actual filming progress is not much. In the blink of an eye, more than $1 million was thrown in and disappeared. This is because he is there to help save money, otherwise who knows how much it would cost. Logically speaking, the early filming mainly revolves around a basement as the location. The general director must have restored the internal structure through the construction of the scenery and props, and then dimmed the lights to simulate it. He didn't want it, saying that it didn't feel thick, and he actually rented a real basement. This doesn't cost money. So when he saw Lemon entering the set, his first words were not a greeting, but "You're finally here." There was a hint of complaint in his words. Lemon was also a little embarrassed. His brothers were all helping, but he had taken 2 days off to play and moved into his new home. "I'm too busy." "Then why don't you go to the set and take a look?" "What's wrong?" Lemon felt something was wrong and asked quickly. "You'll know if you go and take a look." Ryan emphasized this, and Lemon didn't want to continue chatting, so he could only go to the shooting site to take a look. Saw started shooting at the end of June. It was also the first time that James Wan officially became a director. He was so high-spirited and tireless. He wished that except for the necessary toilet and meals, he would use all the other time to shoot. Of course, the actors would definitely not allow it, and the union would not agree. Although he thought so, he had no conditions to do so. But he was still very hard working. He even went back home at night to study the shots for tomorrow's shooting, and often only slept for 4 or 5 hours. In theory, the shooting progress should be very fast in this way. Unfortunately, it was useless. Lemon felt that the atmosphere was a bit wrong. As soon as he entered the set, the actors, including the filming team, were in a bad mood, and the whole atmosphere was depressed. Even those who knew him were the same. Hugo Weaving was reading the script with his head down. J.K. Simmons was putting on makeup. Jason Statham was resting his eyes with his chin propped up. Something was wrong. Very wrong. James Wan could of course feel that something was wrong with his crew. He was not blind, and the emotions of those people were written on their faces. But he didn't know what was wrong with him. He felt that he was working hard. Maybe it was because the amount of filming in the past few days was far more than expected. Well, if you think so, it means that this guy didn't realize the problem at all. In fact, Ryan knew it, but he had never dealt with James Wan before, and before he joined the crew, Lemon asked him to take care of James Wan more, so he didn't remind him. After all, it's quite depressing to say it out loud. The matter was actually quite simple. Lemon talked to a few actors during the break in filming and understood. Isn't the script of Saw very simple? There is no depth to speak of. There are few characters, only one main plot and one subplot. Except for the reversal of Jigsaw's identity at the end, it is a bit novel, but think about it, it's just like that. It's quite pale. The reason why it can be a great success is that it is set off by its peers, and the film has a good rhythm, which can make people watch it with interest to the end. Moreover, there is really a large market base of bloody cult films in the United States. The story is basically qualified, and the results are not bad. Several main characters, Lawrence, Adam, and Tripp. The development of the plot depends on these characters, so naturally they have a lot of screen time. But James Wan didn't play by the routine, which is a complete pit. In the past few days of filming, a lot of shots were given to those passers-by supporting roles, and Lawrence's family scenes were also dug. Please, who cares about the situation of his family? Things that were just mentioned in passing must be expanded. This is very painful. Who wants to do useless work? After such hard shooting, in the end, it has to be cut out during editing. It's obviously a joke. and the shooting team was originally provided by Paramount and Europa, and they are all experienced in the industry. Naturally, they are a little dissatisfied with the director, like James Wan, who has many ideas. But it's not easy to get angry. After all, he is a director. As for the actors, they must be unhappy. They have contributed qualified role performances, but they don't get any rewards. They stay in the crew every day, and the scenes they shoot are completely unrelated to the main line. Some even suspect that James Wan is deliberately messing with them and actually shoots like this. Heaven and earth, James Wan has never thought about it. Of course, Lyman still understands him a little after knowing the ins and outs of the matter. Think about it, it's easy for people to get excited when they are directors for the first time, and as for not distinguishing the main from the secondary, that is also a common problem for newcomers. To put it bluntly, it's still a lack of experience. In the evening, after finishing the shooting, James Wan returned to the hotel rented by the crew. Just as he was about to take a shower, there was a knock on the door. As soon as the door opened, it was Lyman. He welcomed him in warmly and took the initiative to pour coffee. Lyman took a sip and said, "What do you think of the last shot today?" He came so late naturally to question the crime. There were so many people present during the day, and he must have defended James Wan. He was also very polite and said nothing during the filming to increase the character struggle and give him a motive for killing. Well, he filmed the family scene of Dr. Lawrence again today, just when he was about to kill Adam. His wife and daughter were threatened by the perverted murderer, so he had to do it. James Wan added, "How should I put it? The idea is very good, but just for such a minor role, the whole movie probably could have explained the identity in 2 or 3 shots, but it took an entire afternoon to shoot and wasted film. Why?" Of course, that's not the right thing to say. He still has high hopes for James Wan. At least, his ideas for filming are still clear and not randomly shot. Have you ever thought about the length and the rhythm of the film? Lyman looked at him and continued, "Why do these bloody and thriller movies usually last no more than an hour and a half? That's because the characters don't really have much depth to explore, and the audience just likes to watch bloody and violent scenes, which can bring them a kind of visual stimulation, and that's enough. Do you understand?" James Wan opened his mouth but said nothing. Of course he understood this. After all, he was a professional director, and in the directing professional class, his instructor specifically talked about how to control the rhythm of the film, including setting up big and small climaxes, so as to arouse the audience's interest in continuing to watch the film. He understood all this, but often when he was actually shooting, he couldn't control himself as soon as a new idea popped up in his mind. Seeing him like this, Lyman continued to chat with him carefully. A newcomer, full of enthusiasm, always wants to do everything perfectly. But a movie must have a prominent main line, with a main and a secondary. Otherwise, what is the main role and secondary role? Shooting in a hodgepodge style, trying to make everything clear, often results in a film with unclear levels, which makes the audience feel confused. After explaining a lot of reasons, Lyman also gave his opinion. The characters can be explored, but not too much, and you have to be careful about the degree, and also consider the hard-working crew members, right? James Wan is a wise man. After realizing his mistakes, he quickly corrected them. The crew finally got on the right track. Chapter 195, Producer-Centered System. Please subscribe and recommend. In Hollywood film crews, the producer is always the core, which is commonly known as the producer-centered system in the industry. But France is not Hollywood, and it does not believe in this aspect. In some crews, it is often seen that the director also serves as the producer. Luc Besson also likes to do this. As a director, Lyman naturally speaks from the director's standpoint. Because he empathizes with the director, he is also unwilling to interfere with the director's work. Basically, the filming of Saw was controlled by James Wan. But Hollywood can have such a system, and there are naturally reasons for it. For example, when the director is happy during filming and does not shoot according to the plan, if no one can restrict it, it will be a disaster for the crew and the film. In the history of film, there have been countless case lessons that tell those film companies that, if they shoot according to the director's ideas, no amount of money will be enough to compensate. Frankly speaking, Such supervision is definitely not bad, but blindly restricting the director's creative space will definitely not be good. You have to know that the director has become a filming machine. Is such a work really the so-called seventh art? There is no spirituality at all. It is better to say that it is a product of mass production and assembly line on industrial production lines. When it comes to the producer-centered system, we have to mention its ancestor, Ivan Thalberg, who once headed Universal and MGM, and was the first big boss in Hollywood history to come from a producer background. In 1917, Europe was in a mess because of the First World War. The Republic of China was only 5 years old when the last symbolic figure of the dynasty era, Aixinjulo abdicated again. When the whole world was like boiling porridge, the United States was still singing and dancing, and was not disturbed by the international turmoil at all. However, at that time, the focus of the American film industry was still in New York on the East Coast. At that time, Ivan Thalberg had just got a job with a monthly salary of $15, a secretary in the New York office of Universal Pictures. Slowly, as his company qualifications steadily increased, he joined a film crew carousel as a producer. This was a project invested by Warner itself. At that time, the great director Stroheim also liked to mess around during filming. This was not a big deal at the time, just not shooting according to the script. Many directors did this when they had new ideas. The king of sunglasses in the mainland could even write the script on the spot and then shoot. Although in Hollywood, he didn't even have the premise of getting the opportunity. The consequence of doing this is that the budget is overspent. Unfortunately, Stroheim is not James Cameron, and he didn't learn the skill of being a scoundrel. After the overspending, Ivan Thalberg was not happy and went directly to the Warner executives, saying that he wanted to fire the director and let this irresponsible director go away. The Warner executives were naturally very concerned. You said that the movie had been shot for more than half and suddenly kicked the director out. Then the project would not be completed. Otherwise, just be patient and give some investment to get through it. This was also the idea of most film companies at the time. But Ivan Thalberg was obviously a capable person, and he said directly that he could handle the rest, but such a director could not be kept. Later, Stroheim was fired directly. After the carousel incident, Ivan Thalberg was increasingly valued by Warner. He was not ambiguous, and directly led and established the position of the producer-centered system in Hollywood, and defined the core concept of this system, controlling the budget and completing the film. Such an idea was a golden piece of advice to those film companies, that is, investors at the time, and it was from their perspective. So what was there to disagree with? As a result, such a distribution of power in the crew was quickly accepted by the film industry and regarded as a rule in a sense. After all, commercial returns are the first thing that investors consider. What artistic pursuits, what subject matter creation, what character depth, all stand aside. Under this concept, producers also pay more attention to the type of film, the market response of the actors and creators, the commerciality of the content and subject matter, and even emphasize the visual and auditory audience senses, pay more attention to the rhythm and fluency of the story, and a series of other factors. Everything they pay attention to is not based on personal aesthetic preferences, or even for the film itself, but market requirements, market trends, and the viewing trends of specific groups of people. It is a purposeful filming. It is hard to say whether this system is good or bad, but it is definitely an inevitable ideological conflict with the director. As for Lyman, he certainly does not like this system of meddling in the filming, but producers do need it. After all, a qualified producer can save a lot of trouble for the crew. To put it simply, he can understand the market better than the director, understand trends better than the audience, and understand capital better than the investors. Los Angeles, Warner Studios No. 3. James Wan looked at the shot he had just taken and watched it several times on the director's monitor and then nodded with satisfaction. Lyman naturally didn't care much about his filming work. As long as he could control the degree, he could do whatever he wanted. And he did not disappoint Lyman's advice to him that night. After the filming returned to the right track, the filming atmosphere of the crew also improved visibly. The progress was smooth, and he was happy. Okay, passed. Prepare for the next one. Even the voice of shouting was full of joy and confidence. He put the megaphone aside and picked up the filming plan to continue to figure it out. To be honest, James Wan is really serious about filming. A group of people can see it. His current mood may be like when Lemon first filmed Buried, always full of energy. If Lemon had not had several years of experience on the set in his previous life, he might have done the same thing. It's the first time, so you can't ask for too much. Besides, the budget of the crew is enough. If it is really the pitiful $1.2 million in his previous life, I believe he will not have any new ideas, even if he is forced into a corner. When Lemon was filming Buried, didn't he often worry about money? He only thought about how to complete it smoothly, so naturally he didn't think about the character's motivation and logic. Looking back at that work, Lemon can also find many points for improvement. People must have a process of improvement. Lemon believes that after James Wan shoots a few more movies and has experience, he will become more mature. After all, his talent is there, and his shooting skills and aesthetic concepts are also unique. At least, Lemon doubted whether he would be able to do better than him if he was asked to shoot Saw. Those ingenious murder mechanisms and clues are still quite admirable. Chapter 196 Life on the Crew. Subscription recommendation. Last night, it rained heavily. Lemon slept lightly. The raindrops hit the glass windows and made a loud noise. There were thunders from time to time. Once he was awakened, it was difficult for him to fall asleep again. He turned his head to look at Eva. She was still sleeping so soundly, with her arms on his waist and her hair loose, without any beauty. Maybe he was too tired. He didn't know when the noise outside stopped, and he fell asleep again. In recent days, he has been learning to be a good producer. At least, he can help Ryan share some of the burden and ensure the normal operation of the crew. In addition to the things on the set, he also has to serve Eva Green. Well, it seems that this is a mutually enjoyable thing. She is also in the crew and has guest starred as the lover of Dr. Lawrence. The role is super simple. If it is put in the movie, it is probably only 1 or 2 shots. After the filming, she didn't leave and helped him deal with some trivial matters. At night, if the two still have energy and interest, they will roll in the sheets again. This is a great consumption of body and mind from the inside out. As for the girl, perhaps she had been developed and activated her fighting attributes. She was not shy about that matter and was very active. It felt like she had finally tasted meat. Can't let go of that wonderful taste. This phenomenon is common among couples who have just come into contact with these things. But Eva always wants to turn over and become the master, to be a dragon rider. Lemon can't stand this. The consequence of not being able to stand it is that either there is no fight or there is a big fight. It must be suppressed. I don't know if it crosses the line. Hurry up, come down, hurry up. In the ordinary hotel, rented by the crew, Ryan, as always, shouted on time, urging in the corridor. Standing next to him was Ray Warner, who was also learning how to be a qualified producer. Morning. Morning. The crew members came out of the doors of the rooms in twos and threes, nodding and greeting. Not long after, Lemon also got up and pulled Eva into the car. Ryan stood by the car, looking back and forth twice. Several cars were lined up, and after confirming that everyone was there, he waved his arm, opened the door, and sat in the passenger seat of Lemon's car. You can go. It was 6 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, and the sky was still a little cloudy and gloomy, and it felt like it would rain. But fortunately, Saw was all indoor scenes, so it didn't affect anything. Today we were going to shoot the opening scenes of Jason Statham and Hugo Weaving. J.K. Simmons had nothing to do, so he could have rested, but he followed. After a while, the car entered the Warner studio. After parking the car, Lemon and Ryan organized people to unload equipment. Later, some crew members who lived at home also arrived. Studio 3 quickly became lively again. After about an hour of busy work, the preliminary preparations were almost done. The prop artist began to replan the set, and the lighting photographer also completed the shooting effect he wanted under the instructions of James Wan. After some layout in the basement, a toilet scene was restored. Lemons, the production manager, squatted on the ground and carefully checked the prop shackles that would be used in the next filming. His big hands kept brushing over the rubber products with a metallic texture to make sure they were smooth enough and would not hurt the actors. If the actors were injured because of these, the representatives of Allianz Insurance would definitely come to argue again. If things really get complicated, he, the inspector, would have a hard time. James Wan, wearing a simple long shirt and jeans, and a hat, sat behind the director's monitor, and was discussing the arrangement of the camera angle with the cameraman. Soon, the actors were in place. Jason Statham could clearly see that he had put on some light makeup on his eye sockets, and his face looked very haggard. The feeling of not sleeping well. Of course, he did stay up half the night last night to achieve a better effect. There was still bloodshot in his pupils. At this time, he was wearing shackles, and because the filming had not started yet, he was holding a bottle of water and drinking it to moisten his throat. Hugo Weaving didn't do this, but his face was pale, and he was wearing a professional suit. I feel a cold temperament, which is very different from the expected image of doctors. The contrast of styles is quite strange. Action. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, everything was ready, and James Wan immediately picked up the megaphone and shouted loudly. Can you vaguely hear that he is excited? The set quickly became quiet, and James Wan's eyes were fixed on the monitor. The director of photography was standing next to the bathtub on the other side of the wall with a camera, and through the slightly turbid water in the bathtub, he firmly locked the figure of Jason Statham. That big bald head is more photogenic in the water. The water rippled and splashed everywhere, and Jason Statham suddenly sat up and coughed violently. This scene is naturally the entrance shot at the beginning of the movie, which is the concept implemented by Jigsaw himself after he got cancer and his brain was abnormal, advising the world to cherish life. So after Adam woke up, he saw the unfamiliar scene in front of him, and he was confused and terrified. Especially his ankles were still shackled. Maybe because he made too much noise. Lawrence also woke up from his coma. Looking at everything around him, he was able to remain calm. In terms of character setting, he is also a thoughtful person. Click. The shot was completed. James Wan adjusted the picture and looked at it, frowning. Dim the light a little and block a board over there. After a slight adjustment, he started shooting again a few minutes later, but he still felt something was wrong. The actor's performance was quite good, and there was no problem with the scene and lighting, but when the two were combined, there was a sense of abruptness, and the picture and the character seemed a little inconsistent. What's going on? Adhering to the principle of asking, if you don't understand, he looked at Lemon on the side. The meaning couldn't be more obvious. Lemon sighed in his heart. Well, he really lacks experience. What is he doing here? Isn't it just a figurehead? Why is he helping to manage the logistics of the crew, and now he has to deal with the shooting? Look, is there something wrong? James Wan said. Lemon also looked at the footage through the monitor. Under the dim lighting, the image was still clear, but because everything around was quiet, Jason Statham was moving when he woke up, so a subtle sense of contrast had to be created. At this moment, it was obviously not moving enough, and the picture looked stable and lifeless. Not lively enough. He pondered for a moment and suggested, add an action. When shooting, move the camera along with Adam, the kind of action of sitting up and falling down, to increase the tension of the picture. This will also allow the audience to focus on this character better. James Wan's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he immediately asked the camera crew to do it again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Novice Village, Subscription Recommendation. From a purely directing perspective, James Wan's current situation is like a new character in a game, who has not yet developed his own routines and gameplay styles. So sometimes he seems at a loss. After all, although the school teaches knowledge points, how to apply them still needs to be practiced by himself. Practice makes perfect, right? That's the truth. To put it bluntly, what he lacks is the word experience. Counting the works he directed in his previous life, he shot more than a dozen. There are many outstanding and box office hits. But whether it is his best horror film or pure popcorn style commercial film, the industry's evaluation of him is not very high. Of course, the audience and the market like him very much, but that's another matter. If you say so, those film companies must be very satisfied with him. After all, he can make money by making movies. However, James Wan doesn't pay much attention to those film critics or award judges. He didn't take a fancy to those so-called industry authorities at the beginning. It can be seen from the films he made that he always went for the audience market and didn't care about the reputation in the industry. Moreover, his progress is obvious to all. The previous Saw series had many flaws. If we analyze each shot individually, there are still many points that can be improved. But in dead silence, the creation of the horror atmosphere of the shot and the grasp of the rhythm of the film have obviously reached a new level, but it can still be done better. Later Insidious or The Conjuring. Slowly, you can feel that kind of maturity more and more, and you are very calm in all aspects. Moreover, he is not a single genre director. After switching to more popular commercial popcorn movies, he can also be very good, and the rhythm is as good as always. He has already practiced it. Look at that Fast and Furious 7. Compared with the previous ones, it is more fluent and enjoyable, and the audience is more satisfied. So the movie won a global market score of $1.1 billion, and thus broke the highest box office record of this series. When you watch his movies, you will find the plot very eye-catching and can attract you to continue watching. This is the ability of a director to control the camera and the rhythm of the movie. Even if the story is weak and the character is not deep, he can make the audience feel comfortable. This is called skill. But now, James Wan obviously has not yet mastered his skills and is in the exploratory stage. In the crew, the most tired person is always the director. It is common to work 15 or 16 hours a day. Not only do you have to stand behind the monitor during the day and stare at the shooting screen with full concentration, but at night, you also have to think about the next shooting and redesign the camera angle. This is a high intensity pressure on both the body and mind. How can you not be tired? Oh, except for those who can only shout cut. Yes, I'm talking about GUOZIOC. Damn, there are more than a dozen assistant directors working together to make a movie. How can the shooting progress not be fast? Of course, James Wan himself enjoys it. So no matter how tired he is, it is worth it. After all, Saw is his first work as a director. It is both a challenge and an opportunity. He devoted himself to the filming of The Crew. It was only after Lyman became a producer that he realized why there were so many things to do in The Crew. Day after day, he had to worry about trivial matters. Moreover, the scope of work was very wide, ranging from the purchase of lunch boxes for the crew to the expenditure of budget and so on. The division of titles and powers was also very clear. In the institutional rules of Hollywood studios, in descending order of level, there are chief producer, executive producer, production supervisor, and life producer. Although Lyman was named chief producer, he did the lowest level of life producer work. It was also because he didn't want to deal with those third-party representatives who supervise the filming. Doing this was simple, and he could get started. Of course, it was simple, but it was not easy. Since he proposed to share some of the crew management, Ryan was not polite and directly handed over a bunch of trivial matters to him. So, every night, he had to first determine the number of cast and crew for the next day, and then determine the amount of lunch boxes and mineral water, based on the number of people. When he arrived at the set, he had to watch the filming, and eliminate safety hazards. In short, after working for a few days, Lyman had only one feeling: busy for nothing. And he was a little uncomfortable. When did he start to spend tens or hundreds of dollars, and need to be careful about it? It seemed that he had never worried about the financial problem since Buried. George or Ryan helped him take care of it, and he only cared about how to shoot, and if it was good, it was done. The key things were really trivial, and they could not be slow, because the crew really needed them. You can't just work like that on an empty stomach, or without drinking water. This is not realistic. In the busyness, the only thing that made him feel relieved was that the crew's shooting progress was accelerated. Producer, one of the camera lenses is broken. Please report it. What? Okay, I'll remember it later. After the visitor left, Lyman sat on the chair, only feeling a slight pain in his neck, and squeezed it hard. He took a notebook from the temporary office table next to him, and wrote down the various expenses he needed to be responsible for. Everything has to be written down, and finally the producer and the guarantor have to check and reconcile the accounts. Filming is never a simple matter. How much did the Eisenhang lens cost? He frowned and wanted to find Ryan with the notebook. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door of the studio office. Come in. The door was actually ajar. After all, Ryan had a lot of things to deal with every day. But it was polite. Lemon pushed the door open and closed it again. Why are you knocking? I thought it was someone else. Ryan turned around and smiled. TSK, we are in the crew now. We have to follow the rules, understand? He walked to the table and opened the notebook with more and more complicated data and numbers listed on it. Just looking at it, my head hurts. I have been a human for 2 lifetimes, and I'm not good at math. Excuse me, what's the matter? Ryan also put down his pen, stretched his waist, and stretched his body. The camera lens is broken. Please contact someone to buy another one. Have you recorded the account? No, I don't understand. You can record it. The recent expenses are a bit high. Ryan muttered subconsciously again. It's enough to use. There's no need to save. That's what I said. If you overspend, it will be troublesome. Don't tell me. I don't care about this. Then what else do you want? Ryan glanced at him. Alas, the life of a producer is often so calculative and boring. Chapter 198. Please call me lunch manager. Please subscribe and recommend. After Lemon joined the crew, the order on the set became normal. Everyone was a wise man and saw it. James Wan seemed to have a magic needle in his heart, and he changed a lot. He was not as helpless as before, or as impetuous as before. He shot according to his own preferences. In many places, if he didn't get it right, he would ask Lemon's opinion, and then shoot again, after he made up his mind. The result of this is that the staff don't have to do a lot of useless work, and the actors don't have to work hard to perform, because of groundless clips. Many people in the crew have privately started to discuss the directing ability of these two people. It is obvious that Lemon, who has 6 pieces of equipment and is well developed, is more than 1 level stronger than James Wan, who is level 18 and starts with Doran's shield. In terms of output, there is no comparison. Moreover, with him, the atmosphere among the crew members has become much more harmonious, and the smooth filming work that follows can also boost everyone's morale. A virtuous circle. Let's learn about it. More importantly, if there are technical problems, such as the lens is not beautiful enough, and the light cannot create the necessary layering, Lemon can also provide good insights. What do you think is the relationship between Lemon and James Wan? During the break in the crew's filming, Jason Statham sat on a lounge chair and looked at the two people opposite him discussing something. He couldn't help but ask, what relationship? Hugo Weaving, who was also resting on the side, was a little confused. What did he want to express? As if he felt that he didn't express himself clearly enough, Jason Statham added, even if I heard that Lemon had invested in this project, he should be concerned, but this is too much. I mean, you see, during normal filming, the director didn't take the initiative to find him, and he didn't say anything at all. Once there was a problem, he could immediately appear and give a solution. Why do I feel like a master training an apprentice, training him so that he can be independent? It seems to make sense. Hugo Weaver nodded subconsciously, but his eyes looked over there. Behind the director's monitor, Lemon held James Wan and kept talking. He talked about some of his own filming experiences. For example, how to use the camera position to create a sense of space in the lens picture, how to coordinate the character's position for shooting, how to render the emotions at the climax. After the chat, before leaving, Lemon patted James Wan on the shoulder to show encouragement. The relationship is a bit unusual. When can investors and directors talk like this? Even for their own practical interests, it seems too much. It's really unusual. Hugo Weaving retracted his gaze and glanced at Jason Statham, but these have nothing to do with us. Do you want to rehearse your lines now? I'm resting. Lemon didn't know all this. It was almost noon. He was rushing to choose a lunchbox. Yesterday, a staff member complained that the lunchbox was much worse than before, and he had to solve it. Did you change to a different one? Yes. What about the price? It increased by $1. Not bad. This was him communicating with the stage manager who was responsible for delivering the lunchbox. For some reason, the food provided by the lunch vendor in the past 2 days was much worse than that at the beginning. He did not ask why, but changed the delivery vendor. Anyway, we cannot spoil them, right? We are customers, we are God, and we cannot fool God. Lemon proved with his actions that it is not okay. In the afternoon, after lunch and a break, the crew was busy again. In the small cubicle, Lemon sat at his seat and wrote down some notes. He still used the same notebook to record the inflow and outflow of funds, and he bought a calculator on his left hand. But even so, it still made his head hurt. Lemon really began to regret why he wanted to do something that a producer should do. As for Eva Green, she was worse at math than him. She could not be relied on. There are 47 people in the crew today. The lunch boxes and fast food package cost $5.5, a total of $148.5, and the other kind of food provided cost $9, a total of $180. Yes, Lemon did not make a random calculation. Strictly speaking, the crew's meals are also divided into grades. After all, the main creators and the production staff, logistics staff, and miscellaneous staff cannot be mixed together. This is also a small society, and there is a natural class gap. Even the small box lunches are constantly reflecting this unequal relationship. In addition, the crew's morning and evening meals are mostly solved in the hotel. During the day, it is the box lunch just now. The taste is good, the portion is large, and the price is not expensive. Lemon has already told the production staff that it will be a long-term supply if there are no accidents in the play. It will be finished in about a month. This is also the scheduled shooting plan. If all is calculated, it will be about $7,000 in total. With such spending, the crew's funds can still bear it. After all, Lemon has left a budget space of about $200,000. As long as the shooting is not delayed all the time, one more day of delay will cost one more day. You have to know that those shooting teams are calculated on a weekly basis, and they will spend about $8,000 a day. This is the big part. The food standard was slightly improved, but it was nothing compared to the fact that the scheduled shooting was not completed. After taking note, he put the pen in the notebook and carried it with him. He slowly wandered to the shooting site. There were 3 scenes in the afternoon, and the art and set design team had already started working. Suddenly, the head of the props team took the results to report to James Wan, and Lemon also went over to take a look with great interest. It was a small section of a human calf, with ankles and toes, all made clear and realistic. If you see this scene at ordinary times, it must be very weird. But this is the crew of Saw, and for the needs of the plot, it is not very scary. Lemon even touched it. Well, he touched his calf again. Yeah, except for the lack of temperature and being cold, the touch is almost the same. It's amazing. Why is there no one with clear flesh and blood? It's just the appearance? Lemon pointed randomly. Upon hearing this, the props man smiled bitterly and said, "Producer, it's very good to be able to make it like this. How can it be really like a human calf? If you add some special effects in the later stage, the effect will definitely not be bad. At least if the audience doesn't look carefully, they can't tell it is fake." Besides, the camera shook away in a flash. Who can see clearly that there is no flesh and blood in the cut cross section? Really, it's just a semi-close-up shot. Lemon nodded to show his understanding. Chapter 199. Perversion. Subscription recommendation. Shooting bloody and exciting scenes in a thriller is a very demanding task. After all, it has been brewing for so long, and this is about to be a climax. At least the audience should be happy. If they are not happy, it will definitely mean that the film will fail. James Wan also seemed to take it very seriously, and he kept discussing with the filming team with a serious expression. After all, the script was written by him and his friend Leigh Whannell. How could he not know where the climax of the movie is? Therefore, he took out 200% of his imagination and technical reserves to design this scene. Everything is perfect. Take the shooting prop rubber calf model for example. Preparations began a week in advance. During the period, because the effect was not good, it was sent back and redone countless times. Only then did we have the realistic feeling. That is no different from the appearance now. The lighting was also adjusted many times. White light, the brightness is very low. The picture looks very desolate. Lyman watched from the side and had to admit that he is really talented. Just talking about the scheduling of this one scene, he probably didn't do it as well as James Wan, who could mobilize the audience's hormones to soar, giving them the desired visual temptation and satisfaction in their hearts. To be honest, I learned a lot. Of course, apart from the bloody shots, there are still many other aspects that James Wan needs to accumulate experience, but it can still be seen that there are shadows of the later Wen-style horror films. This scene is a bondage scene, where Adam and Lawrence have to saw off their legs to escape from the shackles. At this moment, the basement scenery is all deliberately old. James Wan stood behind the director's monitor with an excited look, his eyes full of expectations. This man may really have a bit of a perverted tendency, and he showed great interest in such intuitive blood. Although several close-up shots he wanted were persuaded by Lyman to be deleted, he did not give up completely and added a little hint. Profile shots, bloodstains on the ground that would be spilled later, and the calf model. Originally, this guy wanted to directly use a close-up long shot and record the whole scene of slowly cutting the calf with a saw. The skin and flesh being torn together must be beautiful and more impactful. Whether it is beautiful or not, Lyman doesn't know. He only knows that, if it is shot like this, the film will definitely not pass the R rating. You should know that the highest box office record for NC-17 movies is still Juneflower starring Uma Thurman, which only took in $20 million US. As long as the quality of R-rated movies is good, it can easily exceed 20 million. This is the problem brought by the audience. For example, G-rated movies can be watched by children and the elderly. The highest record is Finding Nemo with a global box office of nearly $1 billion US. What a difference. Too square, too violent, too bloody. There are not so many heavy taste audiences who deliberately go to the cinema to support it. Even if they like to watch it, can't they buy a disc and watch it at home? Don't they have face? Therefore, this market is also destined to have no hope for NC-17. Offline, we can still hope that DVDs and videotapes will sell well. Although Lyman could not understand his bad taste, he chose to respect it, as long as it can be properly controlled. Don't be so intuitive that people feel sick and lose their appetite. Before filming, the production staff was still doing the final inspection. Hugo Weaving and Jason Statham, who were about to perform, were sitting in chairs at this moment, brewing their emotions. Hugo Weaving's sitting posture was very strange. He leaned against the back of the chair, his whole body seemed to sink, as if he was powerless, and his eyes were closed. This can relax the muscles and spirit completely, which is his unique way of adjusting on the spot. Jason Statham was much simpler, leaning on the chair, holding the script in his hand, lowering his head, thinking about something. Both of them also understood the importance of this scene and the difficulty of acting. There was an inexplicable serious atmosphere on the set suddenly, perhaps everyone was waiting for it. Lyman stood aside, also a little expectant, because the previous filming had been going smoothly since he joined the group. The actors, especially veteran actors like Hugo Weaving, seemed to be at ease during the filming. This was the first time that he had carefully prepared for the foreplay. Is everything ready? James Wan asked. Okay. The production manager made a positive gesture. Action. The lens of the #1 camera first gave a close-up of the saw, and the cutting chain on it looked so sharp. Then it slowly panned and pulled back, reflecting Hugo Weaving's whole body. I don't know what he was thinking in his eyes. He looked at the saw several times, and lowered his head again, as if he was making a final ideological struggle. His whole body was trembling slightly, but he was still determined. If he didn't do this, he would only die. The devil wanted to see such a scene happen. He satisfied him. After taking a few deep breaths slowly, and holding his breath, Hugo Weaving lowered his eyes, picked up the hand saw in his right hand, and stared at the ground diagonally in front of him without blinking. Jason Statham stared at him, as if he was surprised by his actions. The cameraman was very coquettish, turning back and forth between the two of them, constantly taking snapshots. There was a dead body lying on the ground. The wound had stopped bleeding. It was none other than J.K. Simmons, the actor who played Jigsaw. If the final reversal was the finishing touch, then the previous scenes were all paving the way for the finale. His shots were all swept across, letting people know that he was a dead man. The focus now was not on him, and he had to deliberately reduce his presence. Hugo Weaving suddenly pursed his lips, and his hands were obviously exerting force. Veins bulged, and cold sweat flowed down. He gasped for air. His body was in a trance and swayed slightly, but he continued. Finally, he couldn't help it and roared violently, like a wounded beast trapped in a cage. His eyes also changed completely, becoming bloodthirsty and murderous. His expression was extremely painful, but he was still more determined than ever before. Madness was fully expressed at this moment. Gradually, he collapsed to the ground, as if he had lost his spine due to exhaustion. His face was pale, and he kept twitching. The camera moves back, and we can see that the shackles are still hanging on one of the calves. The teeth of the saw and the ground are all covered with blood spilled by the prop team. It is bloody and looks inexplicably throbbing. Hugo Weaving seems to be relieved, and slowly breathes a sigh of relief. He beats the ground with both hands, still enduring the pain. He did it. He escaped. Chapter 200. More focus. Subscription recommendation. Before the filming was about to begin, Lyman had approached James Wan to discuss the film in detail. After all, he is also a director, and has written many script outlines, so he knows some script structures that need to be taken into consideration when creating the film. To this end, he has proposed many suggestions for improvement, mainly focusing on two aspects. One is the style, the other is to establish the character. The former is naturally very simple, just to remind him not to be too over the top when filming, which would affect the rating. The latter is a bit more complicated. To be more precise, when James Wan and Ray Warnell started to create this story, they were constrained by funds and doubts about their immature experience, so they planned to save money, do something with a small cost, and shoot with a lower difficulty and easier to get started. Therefore, its scenes are single, so its character creation is a bit too taken for granted, and there are even too many logical noise points. For example, after the police found clues about the perverted murderer, they did not inform other colleagues, but took their men to conduct on-site investigations. For example, when the police arrived in the basement, Jigsaw activated the mechanism to kill the two of them, but the two hesitated and did not dare to shoot. Please, when did the American police become so cowardly? Aren't they always shot when they disagreed? Another example is that Jigsaw was only wearing a bulletproof vest, but he was sure that he would not die after being shot, and wanted to fake the scene of his own death. There are too many plot bugs of this kind, which is also a point that James Wan did not consider. In his opinion, all supporting roles serve the main line, and he does not want to describe the roles too much, so it will become like this. If this work is not invested by Lyman, it would be fine, and there is no need to consider these. But now, at the end of the movie, the subtitle producer column must have his name written on it, and the poster promotion will also have the news that he is the producer. In other words, he has to be responsible for this work and the quality of the film. That's very strange, especially when he can't stand the illogical and chaotic performance of the characters. Regardless of the purpose, adding humanity, at least, people won't want to complain or feel weird after watching it. This is not too much, right? So, he brought this up to James Wan in a profound way, and James Wan didn't know at the beginning that his shooting budget would be 10 million, and he said he would change it without saying anything. He wanted to play something high-end a long time ago. This young man who looks gentle on the surface is so cruel in his heart that it is beyond words. In the previous life, there were no conditions. Didn't you see that the screenwriters personally acted as actors? Didn't they look very rough? Now there are food and ammunition, so what are you worried about? Give me a breakthrough in creativity. Yes, this work is already quite different from the previous one. The police's side storyline has been completely deleted, and the focus is on the perverted torture methods in the basement. Can it be regarded as an alternative Maze Runner? Oh, no, maybe it should be called Death Maze. Here, a group of people who were caught by Jigsaw and disrespected life will be tested by life or death, and no one can get out intact. They are wandering in the basement, seeking a chance to escape. It is also under the extreme torture mechanism that they understand the true meaning of life and understand that being alive is more important than anything else. This is the truth that Jigsaw wants to tell the world with his actions. If the sequel is filmed in the future, it will also follow this model. Its selling point lies in those novel and cruel killing mechanisms and the performance of the victims. Well, Lyman has already thought of how to shoot the sequel, but the reality is that the first one has not been successfully completed. On the set, when Hugo Weaving contributed a very wonderful performance, this one was naturally easy to pass. James Wan even made a gesture with satisfaction. He is really amazing. On the side of the set, Eva Green, as an actor, exclaimed sincerely, "You work hard and think more about the role. You have a foundation in this area." Lyman encouraged with a smile. The onlookers were all standing and talking without any back pain, but Jason Statham in the audience was dumbfounded. Usually, the two of them have played against each other a lot, and at that time he didn't think it was a big deal and could keep up. But at this moment, when the other person really burst into acting, he realized that the gap between the two was really big. He had thought about this scene many times, but after seeing the other person's performance, he began to doubt whether he could keep up. The pressure was great. Don't forget, he is also the leading actor. They have to support each other so that the picture can be coordinated. If one is too good and the other is relatively mediocre, that kind of split feeling, put on the big screen, will only make the audience out of the play. This is why the later traffic stars who insist on integrating into the entertainment industry will give people a very weird taste or the strength does not match the role. Jason Statham is certainly not that bad. After all, he has been acting for so many years and has rich acting experience. But objectively speaking, he has never won by acting. The way he is suitable for has always been a martial arts star. The kind of person who makes up for his lack of acting skills with smooth movements. At this moment, he felt his heart pounding, and his mind was beginning to get confused. But as soon as the camera was pointed, he immediately performed again. His eyes widened, and he screamed in pain. His lips twitched, and he took deep breaths. It hurt the eyes. He was like a crazy baboon. Lyman on the side thought so, and James Wan saw it clearly behind the monitor. However, he did not call for a stop immediately, but insisted on performing until he finished this scene. Satisfied is definitely not satisfied, but it is obvious that this guy is a little too nervous and can't let go. Not to mention a breakthrough, it is even worse than before. Fortunately, let him release his emotions more and accumulate some experience. Cut. The camera finally passed, and James Wan immediately ended the filming. Frowning, rubbing his temples. It would be fine if there was no comparison. Once there was a comparison, it was too strong. The abrupt feeling was simply unbearable to watch. Do it again. He gave the order. The crew members started to get busy again. Jason Statham returned to his seat in a daze and drank 2 gulps of water. He also knew that he was not doing well just now. 10 minutes later, everything was ready. Everyone took care of their own business. Jason Statham also stood up again. Action. The painful howl sounded again. James Wan rubbed his temple again. What the hell is going on? Is it really getting worse each time? Take a break first. He had no choice but to think of a solution. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.